is incredible, as is what we saw on the field at South Carolina.
Without a doubt. You talk about the rich getting richer. He reminds me a lot of Richard Seymour. Long, big, and powerful. And the San Francisco 49ers are going to love it. Can he play with leverage? When you're a tall player, you got to be able to play with leverage, extend your arms, control the offensive lineman. He can do it with the best of them. Like one of the guys that I played with a long time ago, Richard Seymour, doing the same thing. Defensive linemen being able to use both hands and control the offensive lineman, they do it well. But this is now a passing league. Can you be a three-down player? Can you rush the passer? Javon Kinlaw showed outstanding pass rush ability and power, especially at the Senior Bowl. Just like Richard Seymour, long arms, long levers. He can do it inside. And dare I say, John Lynch, they traded away DeForest Buckner. Now they get Javon Kinlaw, Mel, and this defensive line is going to be dominant once again.
Boog, talent-wise, 6'5", 324. Remember, he was 340 early on, managed his weight, got it down to 324, played through a hip injury in 2018. This past year, first 5-6 games, he was dominant. Actually, 5 sacks in the first 6 games, only 1 the rest of the way. And that's where Derek Brown, week in and week out, was dominant. Kinlaw had that great start. Then teams adjusted, and he wasn't quite as much of a factor, but he's got incredibly long arms, huge hands, DJ. Physically, if you could draw up a defensive tackle, Javon Kinlaw would be that guy.
Yeah, he reminded me of Marcus Stroud when I watched him, Mel. And this is somebody, when you put on the Georgia game and the Alabama game, the best opponents they played, he was dominant against those quality offensive lines. So that's what jumped out to me. And, Louis, I just add one thing here with this selection. This is outstanding by John Lynch. You trade DeForest Buckner, you get the 13th pick. You trade back to 14, get an extra pick, and you replace DeForest Buckner at the same position with a younger, cheaper player. John Lynch putting that Stanford education to good use.
Without a doubt. Look, it's great value for them. It's smart team building, and they're staying true to who they are, DJ. They're a team that likes to build it front to back, inside out, on the defensive side of the football in particular. And Javon Kinlaw, you're right. When he went up against the best offensive lines in college football, that's when he really raised his level. And it wasn't just at the point of attack. It was chasing people down the field. I remember in that Alabama game just seeing him run downfield and just put haymakers on running backs, catching the ball out of the backfield with his extra effort. That's the kind of thing that epitomizes San Francisco this year, and he's going to fit right in very well.
Well, Dad is feeling it right now for the Kinlaws. And, oh, by the way, sometimes things just work out perfectly. Kinlaw actually wanted to go to San Francisco, saying they're just a wonderful group of guys, a talented group that works together. They work together for the same goal, not individual achievements, and that's to get the win at the end of the day. That's something I want to be a part of. Well, guess what, Javon? You are a part of it. Javon Kinlaw, now a San Francisco 49er. We'll be back in 30 seconds after a quick word from Verizon.
If we weren't able to stream anything, I think they'd be lost.
We're all home right now. That's why Verizon is giving you more of the entertainment you want.
Daly is usually watching a TV show, and McKenna is almost always listening to music.
We love Verizon.
So I get the shows I need when I need them.
Now, unlimited plans come with your favorite artists on Apple Music, shows and movies on Disney Plus, and over 70 top channels of live TV with YouTube TV.
Music plays a huge role in our family. That's how we connect.
Plans start at just $35 so your family can mix, match, and save. Shop online today, only at Verizon.
All right, glad you're with us as the first round of the 2020 draft rolls on. The Denver Broncos are sitting here at 15, and we've only had one wide receiver go off the board. John with the power flex right there. Give me all the Super Bowl trophies, put them over there, and make it a wide shot so everybody can see. I mean, I respect it. A good friend of mine said, when you have the opportunity to stunt. And John Elway just did that. Then, of course, there's Vic Fangio waiting to go into his second season as the Broncos head coach. The pick is in for the Denver Broncos. Let's see where the Denver Broncos go.
With the 15th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, Alabama. Congratulations, Jerry. Come on, Broncos.
And there you see Jerry Jeudy and family waiting to hear the official news, but it is done. Jerry Jeudy is a Denver Bronco. And again, according to our Todd McShay, maybe one of the best route runners he's ever seen. By the way, real quickly, you see that straight ace his senior year of high school? he had already done. He was already going on to early admission at Alabama. He was at an all-star high school game, and he got his report card, and one of them was a B+. He said, no, that's wrong. I got the A. The teacher went back and recalculated. Turns out it indeed was correct. Jerry Jeudy was a straight A student, but he has dealt with some tragedy in his life. In November of 2016, Jerry Judy's 7-year-old sister, Aaliyah, passed away. Aaliyah was a miracle baby and had suffered health complications since birth. Following her death, Judy posted a photo of Aaliyah with an uplifting message. I love you, sis. You're in a better place now. I swear I'm going to make it for you and mommy. R.I.P. Aaliyah. Jerry's daughter, Journey Aaliyah Judy, was born on March 27th. And there you see it. Jerry Jeudy going to go work with John Elway, the quarterback there, Drew Lock, Cortland Sutton, the other wide receiver on the side of that ball. Michael Irvin, take us through what you like about Jerry Jeudy's tape.
I love this pick, and I'm telling you, when you hear people talk about how great he is at running routes, that's because he transitions so well in and out of cuts. This guy is incredible at the line of scrimmage. That's the number one thing that he's going to have to work on, is getting off that ball and being able to get deep. He ran a 4.4 at the combine. And Trey, he gets his work done in the slot. I already told you, 60% of the time he was lined up in the slot, and he made 7 touchdowns out of 10. Now, when you line up Cortland Sutton on the outside and you put Jerry Jeudy in the slot, that is a disaster for any defense when you're trying to stop Drew Lock and the Denver Broncos. Great pick for the Denver Broncos right there, Trey.
Yeah, Irv, I think it's fascinating when you look inside this division. Everybody's chasing the Kansas City Chiefs. So are they going to load up on defense to try and slow down that Chiefs offense? It's like, forget that. We're not going to be able to slow them down. We better get some firepower. So the Chargers go out and get their quarterback of the future in Justin Herbert. We saw the Raiders go get Henry Ruggs. And then now you have the Denver Broncos go get his teammate in Jerry Jeudy. The AFC West is loading up on offense.
Yeah, they certainly are. By the way, Alabama has 2 wide receivers in the first round now. It's just the 5th time in the common draft era since 1967 where one school had 2 wideouts go in the first round. John Elway is very happy right now.
So I think at this point, this is definitely a sea change.
The amount of changes that have happened in medicine in the last 2 weeks are more than I would have expected in like 2 decades.
We have rolled out teams across our network, and we went from essentially no televisits to approaching 5,000 visits a day in the last week.
That is pretty amazing.
You connect with them via a video visit. The partner actually can interact and hear the counseling that's done.
These visits are surprisingly intimate.
And I can actually share my screen and show the x-rays.
5-10 minutes and we were done, and she could go outside and play with her kids.
From the clinical aspect, it allows us to continue to take care of the patients.
We really moved some mountains in our network, and Teams has been a huge part of that.
Completely agree. This is going to be a game changer for medicine.
You've already got a home team. Willie, Lauren, Steven, Deborah. 300,000 members of a team working hard to keep your home working for you. Because home is what unites us.
I've never had Burger King nuggets before. It's a lot better than I expected.
And the best part is, they're 8 for only $1.
What? These are good. It's crispy and it's golden. When you see an ad like that, you don't expect them to taste this good.
Yup, 8 delicious nuggets for just $1. Your way, way better.
Welcome back to the draft. Roger Goodell doing his part, FaceTiming with all the quarterbacks taken in this draft. You see Tua Tagovailoa there. You had Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert as well. Meanwhile, let's take a look at Mel's best available, brought to you by Lowe's. Mel, what do we got?
You got Philadelphia, Minnesota, New Orleans, all looking receivers. There's C.D. YAC, yard after catch. He's phenomenal there. C.D. Lamb is. And you got the heck of a football player, Xavier McKinney. Justin Jefferson improved by leaps and bounds this past season. Chase on had some injuries, but he's an outstanding pass rusher. And Kenneth Murray, all this kid does, sideline to sideline range. Great football player, Booger at Oklahoma. One of two outstanding inside linebackers along with LSU's Patrick Queen.
Yeah, when you look at the Falcons and the Cowboys coming up, both of those teams need edge rush, and the second best edge rusher in this draft by a lot of people, myself included, was Caleb Von Chason. You got to think at some point he's going to be up to come off the board pretty quickly.
Chason, man.
All right, Boog, thank you. There you see Dan Quinn, Arthur Blank, and GM Thomas Dimitroff. By the way, if anybody's going to nail the virtual draft, it would be Thomas Dimitroff. He was showing off his setup like 3 weeks ago. So we'll see what the Falcons are doing. We know their head coach, Dan Quinn, is a guy who built his reputation off speed defenders. That's what got him the Atlanta head coaching job, the things he was able to do in Seattle as their defensive coordinator. So where will Dan, Arthur, and Thomas Dimitroff go as we reach the halfway point of the first round of the draft? The pick is in. Let's find out what they're doing.
Here's your team. With the 16th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select A.J. Terrell, defensive back, Clemson.
Well, there you see A.J. Terrell and family, and it gets emotional pretty quickly, ladies and gentlemen. And A.J. Terrell announced his presence with authority in the 2018 College Football Championship game. He scored the first points of that game with a pick six. Now, Terrell, by the way, changed his major from business to sociology because he said, I like to size people up. I like to understand why they think the way they do. Mel, he sized up people pretty well as a college player at Clemson.
Well, yeah, as a kid, he had some really strong games. Go back to the Alabama game in 2018, final game of the year, returned an interception, 44 yards for a touchdown in that game. Talking about 8 tackles as well in that football game. Then you go to the final game, you think about what happened there against LSU, where he had trouble there in coverage. I think you look at A.J. Terrell, he has the length, he has the recovery speed, gets a little grabby. That's going to result in penalty flags in the NFL. Fast for the clock, recovery speed at times. Looks like it's an issue, even though I say he does have that outstanding speed. Has to become more of a wrap-up tackler, and I think when you look at him, Lewis, the talent's there, needs a little bit more coaching.
He just needs to be more consistent, Mel. Look, this is a guy who really can get up on the line of scrimmage and challenge you in press man coverage. He has good route recognition. It's really the last third of the down is where I struggled with him as far as his ability to then go ahead and consistently finish. That's where he got into trouble in the national championship game against Jamar Chase. He struggled down the field playing strong at the catch point, but if he can improve that, he'll help the Atlanta Falcons secondary.
All right, so A.J. Terrell goes to the Atlanta Falcons, which means, how about them Cowboys? The Dallas Cowboys are on the clock, and Jerry Jones, very impressive setup for the virtual draft there as the Cowboys owner, president, and GM is there, but they're trying to reverse a trend. It's been a while. The Cowboys' last conference championship appearance was in 1995, and they went on to win Super Bowl 30. And these are the teams without a conference championship appearance since '96. And as you can see, the Cowboys are the only one on that list. They're the proud owners of 5 Lombardi trophies. But wait a minute, let's go back to that cartoon. Who was that on the right? On a horse? Michael! Now, you don't look very comfortable there in cartoon form on the horse. So, are you okay with us putting you on the horse like that?
Trey, remember, I'm from Miami. I'm a city boy all the way. But I must admit, when I did get here to Dallas, you start falling into the cowboy ways. I was started wearing cowboy boots. So this next pick, no matter where he comes from, when he gets here, he will be like the Cowboys. He'll get in some boots and on a horse also.
I do think we need to have a comment about the bowler hats that you and Dion wore after that last Super Bowl. That was a fashion statement, my friend, I will never forget. We showed you Jerry Jones. There's Mike McCarthy, maybe a little close to the camera, as you can see. Mike McCarthy had the year away, obviously, after being let go in Green Bay, but he was a very successful coach. They won Super Bowl 45. By the way, interestingly, in Dallas, 31-25 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. 9 playoff appearances in 13 seasons. Lewis, let's start with you. We look at the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, they lost Byron Jones in free agency, making that mega deal to go to the Dolphins. They have needs on the back end of that secondary. They may have some needs on the edge rush, but where do we see them going here? Because I think a lot of the corners that the Cowboys might have been looking at are now off the board.
Yeah, you really think about it. In the middle of the field, someone who can play a little bit of safety, play a little bit of nickel and dime linebacker, someone who comes to mind for me. And I'm looking at Xavier McKinney from Alabama. I think he would fit nicely in the middle of the field and give them some versatility as far as their defensive packages are concerned. He's a guy who plays with tremendous energy, tremendous tackler, good cover skills, very instinctive. I think he's the kind of guy who would look perfect with that Dallas Cowboys star on his helmet.
All right, look, he's sitting there
Lewis,
for him.
Interesting thing.
Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
Real quick, Trey, which when you look at this team right here with the Dallas Cowboys and the decision that they have, is if they took CeeDee Lamb, they'd be taking him right out of the lap of a team in their division, with the Philadelphia Eagles having a huge need at wide receiver, a couple picks away. So that's another interesting storyline to keep an eye on with the Cowboys. I know they have those needs on defense, but CeeDee Lamb would be pretty tempting right here.
Well, this is CeeDee Lamb as he's waiting to hear his name called. Daniel, that's a really interesting point, right? Because you want to build your team, but sometimes you can do things to make sure that you don't help an opponent, a guy you'll see twice, a team you'll see twice. And Mel, listen, from the value of the pick here in terms of where we are in the draft at 17, are you surprised Lamb is still there?
A little bit. I think you look at a guy like CeeDee Lamb. Inside, he was 50% of his production. Outside, 50%. DJ mentioned Dallas. I had Lamb going there in a mock earlier, one of the earlier mocks, because of that third receiver being an issue. You got Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, that third guy, whether it's Lamb, Justin Jefferson, would make sense. Obviously, I go with Lewis with Xavier McKinney. Love him as a football player. Antoine Winfield Jr. is obviously a kid, playmaker at Minnesota. And they need maybe a center at some point. Will they look at Cesar Ruiz from Michigan, who played guard, then was an anchor of that Michigan line the last 2 years. But I think that third receiver, if you want to do that, it's tempting here with Lamb or Jefferson.
Well, it looks like they're having a good conversation. Smiles on the faces right now between Mike McCarthy, the head coach, and Jerry Jones, the owner, president, GM, and master of time, space, and dimension for the Dallas Cowboys. There's a lot of ways this team could go, and this is a team that has their franchise quarterback, although not fully signed, has the running back. That offensive line that we looked at from a few years ago is not the strength that it was, but the pick is in, and we don't have to guess anymore. Let's find out where they go.
With the 17th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver, Oklahoma.
Well, Dak Prescott just got another weapon to throw to, and CeeDee Lamb is a weapon in every shape of the word. By the way, his first full name is Sedarian. He was trying out for fourth grade football, and the coach couldn't say Sedarian, so I said, I'm just going to call you CD. By the way, he wears the number 32 chain in honor of his uncle, Chester Ramirez, who passed away on a business trip when he was in China a few years ago. But CeeDee Lamb is a big play waiting to happen, and there you see the reaction as CeeDee Lamb is coming off the board here. Michael Irvin, we're talking about a player at Oklahoma that was a big play almost all the time he touched the ball.
Yes, he is, Trey, and this is a perfect pick for the Dallas Cowboys. I know they wanted to shore up the defense, but I knew as talking to them that Lamb was the first receiver they had on their board. And they talked about if he falls, they would have to snatch him up. Let me tell you what's great about this, because they got Amari Cooper and they got the young guy outside, Williams outside. But what this kid does, he can play in that slot position that was vacated by Randall Cobb. He played 70% outside last season, 30% in the slot. but he had productions from both spots. 7 touchdowns outside, 7 TDs from that slot, Mel. So he can play in the slot, and when he has to, he can go outside and make plays also.
4 career catches, Michael, of at least 40 yards. Third, and you talk about tops in school history in that area. 2 things. I always say CDYAC, the yards after the catch, the stiff arm, yards after catch, the tough catches in traffic. He can do that. He's a kid who's very explosive. He'll take that big hit, hold on to the football, knows how to find the open area in that defense. Obviously, coming out of Oklahoma, they schemed to get him the football. So route running, we'll have to transition to with the Dallas Cowboys. But as that third receiver with Cooper and Gallup, now you got Dak Prescott.
Hello, Hadel.
Big-time options
Hello,
in the
Hadel.
passing game.
Well, listen,
Hello,
Michael
Hadel.
Irvin's going to love this.
Hadel.
Lamb
Hey, how
forced
are
the
you?
most missed tackles as a patch catcher among wide receivers last year. Lincoln Riley is happy another Sooner is off the board. He ranks first at OU with 24 career receptions of at least 40 yards and 6 career games of at least 160 receiving yards. Jerry getting congratulations all around. Michael is happy too. Stay with us.
Here's the thing about managing multiple clouds for your business. When you've got public clouds and private clouds and hybrid clouds, things can get a bit cloudy for you. But now, there's the Dell Technologies Cloud. Powered by VMware, a single hub for a consistent operating experience across all your clouds. That should clear things up.
Let's raise a cup to the first among us who put themselves last. To the risk takers, the mask makers, the heroes on the front line and online. To the ones keeping shelves full and keeping us hopeful. To those who don't stop and those making all the stops. To the ones who pick up, suit up, and never let us down. From all of us at Duncan to all the heroes keeping everyone running, we thank you.
Bravo team moving to checkpoint.
2 o'clock, 10 feet up the right.
Visual 3 o'clock.
Sometimes the front lines are in our own backyard.
Family in sight.
Make a difference in your community, serving part-time in the Army National Guard.
We're just in unprecedented times right now. You gotta make the most of what you have, go to work.
The situation, it is what it is.
The mindset going into the draft hasn't changed. Come out on the other side of this thing a better version of you.
Biggest thing is just taking steps every day, improving every day.
People like us, we need power. We need it to feel alive. Maybe even to be alive.
It's a triple cross.
You're a monster.
It's getting tribal out there. I don't like this game.
It's not a game.
That's right. I am a monster.
Thanks for sharing your DIY haircuts. Thanks for sharing your savage moves, and especially your awkward ones. Thanks for sharing your cute kids and your adorable pets. Now it's our turn to share with the Geico Give Back, a 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for both current and new customers. And because we're committed for the long haul, the credit lasts your full policy term. So thanks again. One good share deserves another.
Well, we told you the Last Dance was coming last Sunday, and you showed out to the tune of over 6 million people watching the first 2 episodes. And we're going to bring them back. Episodes 3 and 4 coming this Sunday. They've got this whole promo card they want me to read. I'm just going to read you one sentence. Highlighted by Dennis Rodman. I mean, you don't really need to sell it any more than that. You're going to see all the crazy stuff Dennis Rodman did while winning championships with the Bulls. That's enough. Meanwhile, we are continuing here. What a night it's been, and we're all in this together in this virtual draft. Help us make a difference now. Huddle up for COVID-19 relief efforts and join players, teams, fans, and communities around the world in the NFL Draft-a-thon. If we unite behind this cause, we can provide relief for those significantly impacted by the pandemic. Every dollar counts. Visit NFL NFL.com, relief to donate now. Time to check in with the Bud Light Seltzer Virtual Huddle. Delighted to be working through this evening with Mel Kiper Jr., Louis Riddick, Booger McFarland, and our great friends in collaboration from the NFL Network, Daniel Jeremiah, you know him as Move the Sticks, and a couple of Hall of Famers, Kurt Warner and Michael Irvin. All right, the Dolphins' second draft pick is in the first round. Let's find out. Oh, we do? Okay. All right, so we got some time to figure out here what they're going to do with the Miami Dolphins, the second overall pick in the first round. They took Tua Tagovailoa with the 5th overall pick. This is the pick they got when they traded away Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Pittsburgh Steelers, the pick they got back there. And look, the Steelers are very happy with that trade. Minkah made a huge difference on defense, but the Dolphins are in rebuilding mode right now. Mel, as you look at what's available here to Miami, what makes sense to you?
Well, you got to take offensive tackle. You got to protect Tua whenever he's the starting quarterback, and that offensive line's a big issue. You got to believe, even if you have to reach a little, Trey, offensive tackle.
All right, we'll see if that's the case. Brian Flores and son look very happy, as does Chris Greer. Now we can tell you officially the pick is in. Let's see if they do go up front.
We got good news for Tua here. We got good news for Tua. With the 18th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Austin Jackson, tackle, USC.
You know what just happened? Roger Goodell tipped the pick. He said we got good news for Tua. You knew it had to be an offensive lineman. And there is Austin Jackson. First team all Pac-12 out of USC as a junior last year. Ran the 40 at 5.07 at the combine at 6'5", 322 pounds. His grandfather, Melvin, was an offensive lineman at USC's national championship team in '74 and played 64 games for the Green Bay Packers. But as his family, Jackson donated bone marrow to his sister last summer. Autumn Jackson has a rare disease called diamond blackfan anemia, a genetic disorder that prevents her bone marrow from producing red blood cells. As a sibling, Austin Jackson was the best match, but it was only about a 25% possibility that his marrow would match. There are 12 markers they use to designate whether or not someone's a good match. Austin Jackson was a perfect 12 for 12. And this was not an easy thing that they do. The extraction is done using a large needle with a handle at the top that they twist into the bone like opening a wine bottle with a corkscrew. But Austin did that for his sister. His sister's doing well. And now the Dolphins hope Austin does well with the .64", 300
in this draft at the offensive tackle position, or you could say at least he's on par with all the other top tackles in the draft. Tremendous set quickness, long arms, good punch, tremendous recoverability, and in the run game he can play in a power scheme, he can play in a zone scheme, he can climb to the second level. He just needs to stay more consistent when he goes up against technically proficient pass rushers, because he had trouble with A.J. Epinesa, had a little bit of trouble with Bradley Anae, but this is a guy whose his best football's all ahead of him without a doubt.
So there you see it. Tua Tagovailoa under center. Austin Jackson protecting that man under center, the offensive tackle out of USC. We continue to work our way through the draft. We are up to pick number 19, and there you see Austin Jackson and family celebrating. And as we just told you, it is absolutely something that is very important to Austin Jackson family. Austin Jackson there went through that procedure, is now with Brian Flores. Thumbs up all the way around. As we agree, two really good picks for the Miami Dolphins, and Tua Tagovailoa and offensive tackle Austin Jackson. Meanwhile, we're up to pick 19 in the first round. It is the second of the two first-round picks for the Oakland Raiders. Remember, they dealt away Amari Cooper. They dealt away Khalil Mack. They had 3 first-round picks last year. One of them was a home run, Josh Jacobs. Jonathan Abrams was hurt, never really saw, and Cleveland Ferrell didn't really translate what they thought they'd get with the 4th overall pick. Meanwhile, what will they do with their second pick here in the first round? The pick is in. Let's go to the commissioner and find out what the Las Vegas Raiders are doing.
We thought it would be fitting here at pick 19, as the Las Vegas Raiders welcome their second selection, to make a special announcement. As you may know, we are scheduled to host a draft in Vegas this year. And we thank so many for the effort they put forth to prepare that possibility. And we think you deserve another shot. So we're happy here to announce that tonight, the Las Vegas Raiders will host the 2020 NFL Draft. Congratulations to Mark Davis, the Raiders organization, and Raiders Nation. We look forward to being there in Las Vegas, and congratulations. And now, with the 19th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Damon Arnett, defensive back, Ohio State.
All right, first of all, congratulations to Las Vegas getting the mulligan. We'll be there in a couple years as we will do the draft from there. But this is a fascinating decision here on a lot of levels by Damon Arnett. This was a kid that had basically decided his college career was over a year ago at cornerback and didn't even show up for some post-season meetings with Ohio State. But then it was a conversation with his father, Chris Carter, the Ohio State Buckeye wide receiver and Hall of Famer, that said, you need to come back for another year at school to be the best player you can be. And, Mel, we thought we'd see a second or third round grade on Damon Arnett. How surprised are you that he's in the first round?
Early second round grade. I think you look at that third corner, Trey. We have been saying, who's the third corner? You could never build a consensus on who that third corner was after Jeff Okudah, Ohio State, and C.J. Henderson, Florida, DJ. You just couldn't find that guy, who that third corner was. A.J. Terrell's already been taken by Atlanta, maybe a little higher than we thought. And here, Damon Arnett, I'll tell you, he played through that injury. He tackled well. And when you're opposite Jeff Okudah, you're going to have action. And he held up very well. So I think the corners are reaching a little bit, DJ, because they're forcing these needs. Because, like I say, that third corner was very much up in the air.
Yeah, and for me, Mel, he was my 8th corner. So I think people had that third corner in all different orders. You know, one thing I'll say about Arnett, while I was surprised that he went this high, he's very competitive, and that fits with what they've tried to do in building this team over the last couple of years. A very physical, very competitive kid who can really find and play the football, which you've got to have at that position, Lewis. Look, his kid is tough, he's physical, and he can find the ball. I just thought it was a little bit earlier than I expected.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit earlier than a lot of people expected. But when you watch the film and you watch Jeffrey Okudah and then you watch Damon Arnett, look, I can tell you this. He actually plays from a technique standpoint just as well as Okudah in many respects, especially when you're talking about playing press coverage. He's very good at staying patient at the line, very physical with his hands, very physical down the field as far as not allowing wide receivers to create separation with their body. And he is a guy who's a finisher. I think it's a little bit higher than maybe some people expected, but when you really break down his game, he really is a good cover corner who really should develop into a very good pro.
Well, listen, he was a guy that listened to the people that were telling him, you need to come back and you will improve your draft status. And that's exactly what he did. We thought it was going to be improving to a second or third round pick. Instead, He goes to the Raiders with the 19th overall pick in the first round. By the way, second time in the last 4 drafts, the Buckeyes have had at least 2 first-round defensive backs and had 3 back in 2017. Put your feet up, John. You're done for the night.
You're watching the 2020 NFL Draft, presented by Lowe's.
You know, you've already got a home team. Willie, Lauren, Steven, Deborah. 300,000 members of a team working hard to keep your home working for you. Because home is what unites us.
Wouldn't it be nice to eat with some of your old friends? Like the Chalupa Supreme, beefy 5-layer burrito, and more. Order ahead and get your $5 Chalupa Cravings box at Taco Bell's contactless drive-thru.
Every financial plan needs a CFP professional. Confident financial plans, calming financial plans, complete financial plans. They're all possible with a CFP professional. Find yours at letsmakeaplan.org.
Introducing a new podcast, ESPN Daily, hosted by me, Mina Kimes. Go deeper into the stories of the moment. Get the exclusive access and insider perspective that only ESPN can give you. ESPN Daily. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Congratulations to New Orleans.
42 years of age, emergency support goaltender. Get it out, Kerfoot. Hyman, what a save!
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
What a scene here, opening day. I am pumped, and I got goosebumps right now.
P-A-L-A-M-A?
Correct.
It's unbelievable.
Go, 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 go!
So glad to be a part of the Draft-a-thon and everybody doing what they can to help us get through the pandemic that has swept across this country, and why we're doing this draft virtually for the first time. But glad to be sharing a communal sport experience with all of you as we continue to weave our way through the first round of the 2020 NFL Draft. That was supposed to be in Vegas, but you heard Commissioner Goodell say just a few moments ago, they're getting the mulligan. We're going back in a couple of years after we go to Cleveland next year. Let's take a look at Mel's Best Available, brought to you by Lowe's. Mel, enlighten us.
Say, good football player still on the board. Xavier McKinney, a leader back there. Justin Jefferson had a phenomenal season at LSU. Eliminated the drops, became much more consistent. K'Lavon Chaisson is a guy who has pass rush ability, but has had some injury issues, some durability concerns with him. Kenneth Murray all over the field. And there's Jordan Love. We said this is no man's land for that quarterback that drops. He's still on the board for that reason.
Well, there you see the quarterback, still a lot of people thought were going in, Jordan Love, but where's Jacksonville going?
With the 20th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Clavon Chason, linebacker, LSU.
Well, there you see K'Lavon Chason and company getting set to know that they are moving down to Jacksonville. K'Lavon Chason is a tour de force. He played his best at the end of the season. Over the last 4 games, including the SEC Championship and the playoffs, 5 sacks. He returned onto the field for the season opener and did all kinds of things. But the thing about K'Lavon Chason you need to know is he's prepared to do anything. He said, when you hire somebody, do you want to hire someone who speaks 1 language or do you want to hire somebody who speaks 3? I speak 3. I do pass rush. I can drop into coverage and cover anybody you want me to cover, and I can play the run. No offensive lineman has ever just moved me off the ball. Booger, I think we need to understand what an exceptional athlete this kid was. He didn't play football his sophomore year because he wanted to focus on basketball. He got 6 offers before he ever played a snap of varsity football in high school.
Without a doubt, Trey. You talk about a guy that provides scheme versatility, 3-4, 4-3. He's at his best, though, when he puts his hand down. He has elite get-off coming off the edge, running twists, running stunts. In a 3-4, he could be an outside linebacker. In a 4-3, he can be a defensive end. An outside linebacker in a 3-4, they have to drop in coverage. Dave Aranda, who's now the head coach at Baylor, dropped him off in coverage also. K'Lavon Chason was the 2nd best pass rusher in this class, Lewis, and I think they got a steal right here at this point, getting such a dynamic player that has scheme versatility.
Yeah, what he is somebody who they can pair with Josh Allen now and really give you some heat off the edge. You got to assume that Yannick Ngakoue maybe not going to be on the roster here at some point, so they're planning for the future. And Chason, you're right. He's not a one-trick pony. He's not just somebody who's just a pass rusher. He will compete in the run game. And DJ, I think they really right now, they've set themselves up to once again have a young up-front group that can really get after the passer on the edges.
Yeah, very athletic up front now for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Lewis. And I'd also add this kid getting number 18 is a big deal at LSU, as you guys know, because of his leadership and because of his character. And when I talked to the coaches down there, they said when he hurt his knee and when he was rehabbing, he did not miss a single meeting. He was plugged into that program, one of the best leaders they had on that unbelievable LSU squad.
All right, guys, thanks very much. K'Lavon Chason, again, went to work out at a summer camp for LSU to watch a friend, and they said, you should get on the field. He borrowed cleats and got an offer from LSU. 5 more came. Meanwhile, we have the Philadelphia Eagles sitting there with 22. You thought they might go wide receiver. We've seen some wide receivers go off the board as you look at Doug Peterson, the head coach, and Howie Roseman, the executive VP and GM. But here's why they need wide receivers in what is a very deep wide receiver draft. The last 4 games of 2019, these are the wide receivers that they were throwing to, including a former running back in Greg Ward. They used to pick on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside a year ago. That really didn't work out. They had all kinds of injuries. So, Lewis, as you look at the Eagles and the lack of depth on their wide receiver depth chart, it certainly seems like this would be a need that they need to fill.
Yeah, it really is. They need somebody who can make plays down the field. Someone really, quite honestly, is a 3-position player, can play the X, the Z, and the E. They also need some linebacker help, and there's 2 linebackers on the board still right now, and Kenneth Murray and Patrick Queen. So you figure maybe they don't see the value at wide receiver here, although keep an eye on a guy like Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State. But the linebackers, the inside backers with speed and coverage ability are sitting right there. Maybe they pull the trigger on one of those.
Well, there you see Justin Jefferson, who had an unbelievable season at LSU. Michael Irvin, we've talked a little bit about some of these receivers, and the big 3 are off the board, but we're talking about a wide receiver draft class where there could be upwards of 15 to 20 that potentially have a first-round grade, including someone like Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, and Justin Jefferson is another guy that plays a lot in the slot. About 90% of his plays came out of the slot position, man, but he could make plays all over the field. I love watching him. He reminds me some of Keenan Allen, the kind of guy that you cannot stop no matter where he lines up.
All right, we'll see what happens. Again, sometimes you have to let the board talk to you, and if you are the Philadelphia Eagles, you know you need to get some sort of wide receiver for your help in Carson Wentz, who has obviously had his own issues the last couple of years. But you just saw the Dallas Cowboys load up in that division, getting CeeDee Lamb to go with Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup and Zeke Elliott and everything else they've got going there. It's going to be a point-scoring league. We're talking about Dak Prescott last season, who threw for almost 5,000 yards, 4,900. Do the Eagles feel like they need to ramp up the offensive side of the ball? We've seen Howie Roseman make all kinds of trades when he feels like he needs to make a trade and go out and get players. And Doug Peterson obviously has a system that works for him. It's been with him, and it's been with him when he was at Kansas City under Andy Reid. Translated that very nicely to what the Eagles have done here. And again, we've only had those top 3 wide receivers come off the board. There are the T. Higgins of the world. You heard Lewis mention Brandon Ayuk as well. And then we had Justin Jefferson. There are other players like Denzel Mims out of Baylor, Jalen Reagor out of TCU. All of these people are players that have first-round grades at wide receiver. But we're hearing the pick is in. Let's see if they do indeed go wide out.
Before we announce the Eagles selection, I want to personally thank our fans for your contributions to the NFL Draft-a-thon. If you're able to give, we encourage you to go to NFL.com/relief to contribute to those most in need. And we thank you again for your support. With the 21st pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Jalen Reagor, wide receiver, TCU.
Well, this is a player and a name, guys, who has been rising up a lot of draft boards since the end of the season. And if you're thinking, Reagor, that name sounds familiar, you are 100% correct. His father, Monte Reagor, was a defensive end who played 9 years in the NFL, including he was a member of the Indianapolis Colts when they won Super Bowl 41 in Miami 29-17 over the Chicago Bears. But Reagor, 5'10", almost 5'11", 206 pounds. And there you see Monte Reagor. And he was a guy whose job it was to get to the quarterback. And he put together a little pro day workout that he sent around to videos. And Michael Irvin, a lot of people were very impressed with Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, and I was impressed with him also. He's another one of those guys. Small guy, but can go when he get that football in his hands. He only ran a 4.47 at the combine, but he's faster than that clock shows. He has a 42-inch vertical, and we don't know what's happening with Deshaun Watson. They needed speed, and they went and got speed. Reagor is a great pick for the Philadelphia Eagles to go with Carson Wentz.
Michael, that's the one thing. 20.8-yard average, a punt return. He had fumbled the punt against Kansas. He scooped it up and went 80 yards for a touchdown. Tracks the deep ball exceptionally well. And on those underneath throws, he can take it the distance with his speed. He's a heck of a competitor, very explosive. And I think that attitude, that approach that he brings, you got to like. And I think the versatility as well, he's a big-time punt returner added to his value.
Well, he left a lasting impression on someone. He had an incredible 65-yard touchdown on a jailbreak screen against Baylor. Matt Rule says, I still have nightmares about Jalen Reagor. And Howie Roseman is hoping that Jalen Reagor will provide nightmares for all the teams that have to play the Eagles in the NFC East.
Yo, Dad, come play some ball. You're not my dad.
I'm not your dad. Of course I'm your dad's son. If I wasn't your dad, would I be able to do this?
What are you doing?
I'm doing this. Make a swish. Uh-oh. Jake from State Farm.
Here's the deal. There's no replacing the real Chris Paul.
Not my car.
Just like there's no replacing State Farm.
Come on, man. Stop trying to be me.
You want the real deal? Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Category 3 hurricane left more than 1 million people without power.
Some of the effects of the superstorm fire-leveled an entire community.
Tornadoes struck in the early...
We've always tried to be there when you and your home have needed us most. Working together to keep your home working. It's just what we do. What we've always done. what we'll continue to do. Because home is what unites us.
We live in uncertain times. However, there is one thing you can be certain of: the men and women of the United States Postal Service. We're here to deliver cards and packages from loved ones, and also deliver the peace of mind of knowing that essentials like prescriptions are on their way. Every day, all across America, we deliver for you, and we always will.
I'm about to go up. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Ain't nothing but to I'm about to go up.
Shall we begin?
Man, look at this world.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Keep listening.
I smell chips when we watch you.
Awesome sauce!
Taste it and enjoy.
Hello, son.
Dad, not cool.
You know what's not uncool? Old Spice After Hours and jazz.
Dad, I prefer Ultra Smooth. It handles sweat without all that jazz.
You're right, son.
To the people during this pandemic that's putting their lives on the line. For people that, you don't even know, we all want to say thank you. Thank you for everything from top to bottom. Because you don't have to do what you're doing, and you're doing it out the kindness of your heart, and we appreciate it.
I'd also like to give a special shout out to all of the hard-working healthcare workers taking care of others. We appreciate you and thank you.
And don't forget, you can visit NFLshop.com tonight for official 2020 draft gear, caps, jerseys, and more, all shipped free. Also, the NFL is currently providing free complimentary access to NFL Game Pass. So we continue and watch more and sign up for complimentary access on NFL Game Pass. Time now for our Pizza Hut draft moment. Let's go back to the wild card game between the Vikings and the Saints as Minnesota did it again to New Orleans. Just 3 straight years, the Saints have had heartbreaking losses on the final play of the game as they got off early to a good start. Drew Brees and company rallied back. Taysom Hill on the reception there. But then Minnesota and company went to overtime after that kick. And then Kyle Rudolph, after Adam Thielen got him down there, comes up with the touchdown, 26-20. That's a 3rd straight playoff game the Saints had lost with the final score, the winning points coming on the final play of the game. That was our Pizza Hut draft moment. So, Kurt Warner, we look at Minnesota. This is the pick Minnesota got when they made Buffalo made the trade to take Stephon Diggs and take him to Buffalo. Where do we think Minnesota needs to go here? First of 2 picks they've got.
Well, Trey, you're talking to a quarterback. Get me more weapons if I'm Kirk Cousins. And this was a team that was top 10 in rushing the football last year. We know we just saw they won a playoff game, but they were only 23rd ranked in the National Football League at throwing the football. You lose one of your biggest weapons in Stephon Diggs. You wonder if they take a page out of San Francisco's playbook. They traded away to Forrest Buckner. They draft a younger version, a cheaper version of that. Will Minnesota do the same after getting this pick from Buffalo for Stephon Diggs?
I got to say, I've really enjoyed looking inside the head coach's houses. Mike Zimmer with the big fireplace and the fire roaring. Very Minnesota touch. The pick is in, and Roger Goodell is going full skull with the Vikings fans.
Go. Come on, let's go, Viking fans. With the 22nd pick in the 2020 draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Justin Jefferson, wide receiver, LSU.
Well, here's where you're about to find out that sometimes drafting is kind of like high school recruiting. It's not an exact science. Justin, we apologize. ESPN gave you no stars coming out of high school, and you were listed as the number 308 receiver in the nation in the class of 2017. You didn't even crack the top 50 in the state of Louisiana. Safe to say, you made up for it. Your season was incredible. A school record 111 catches. And if it hadn't been for teammate Jamar Chase's 20 touchdown grabs, you would have had the most last season in college football at 18. Of course, he's not the first Jefferson to play football at LSU. Jordan, his oldest brother, was a quarterback there. And Ricky, another older brother, was an LSU defensive back 2013 to 2016. Michael Justin Jefferson was a late bloomer and came into this process a little later than some, and he has certainly made the most of it with an unbelievable career at LSU.
Yes, and hey, listen, I love this pick as a football player. Now, I'm really anxious to see how Minnesota will work this out because, you know, Adam Thielen works the slot a lot in Minnesota. Justin Jefferson was 99% out of the slot at LSU. So seeing how they mesh this together is going to be very interesting. But this kid can flat out play football. He made great plays deep, made plays over top of people, and when he does get the ball in his hands, he can take short passes and make long plays out of them. Justin Jefferson going to Minnesota. I tell you, DJ, Mel, that's going to be a great pick.
Yeah, look, you look at this player on tape, he reminds me so much of Keenan Allen and what he did in the slot, Mike. His ability to separate, he catches everything. He's always where he's supposed to be. He's a pro. And when I talked to the folks down at LSU, they said, look, his brother who played at LSU was roommates with Patrick Peterson. This kid was running routes against Patrick Peterson when he was a teenager. He's not going to be intimidated when he steps into an NFL locker room. And Mel, I had a buddy in the league that said this was Gary Kubiak's favorite receiver in the draft. He's going to catch 1,000,000 balls in Minnesota.
DJ, I'm surprised he was there. I thought he'd go more middle of the first round, that 13, 14, 15 area. The big games, Georgia, Oklahoma, Clemson, late in the year, he had 30 receptions in those 3 football games. Then he ran 4.43 at the combine when a lot of people thought he'd run 4.55. Joe Brady really improved, coaching up those receivers. He eliminated those drops, and Justin Jefferson became, like Joe Burrow, a completely different player in 2019 as he was in 2018. And that allowed him to move up from the second round into the first round.
Well, there you see GM Rick Spielman, and there is Justin Jefferson. Again, a replacement for what they lost when they got this pick, Stephon Diggs. That was part of a trade before the draft, but now let's go back to Adam Schefter. Adam, we're at pick 23, which would be the Patriots, but wait a minute, we've got a trade, don't we?
Well, Trey, yes, the New England Patriots have traded out of the first round, trading that pick, number 23, to the Los Angeles Chargers for second and third round picks. There are the details of the exact trade. Keep in mind, New England had traded its second round pick for Mohamed Sanu, so now the Patriots are left with 13 picks. And they could take the same player at 37 that they would have taken at 23. The Chargers, meanwhile, I think are looking for defensive help. They got Justin Herbert on the other side of the football. There's a couple of linebackers sitting there right now that would make a lot of sense for the Los Angeles Chargers at this point in time. They're looking for a tackling
All right,
machine.
Adam,
They're
thanks.
looking
The
for
pick is in.
defensive
Let's
help.
find
That
out
makes
what the
sense.
Chargers are doing with their second first-round pick. No? Okay. The pick is not yet in. But again, not surprising that the Patriots moved back. Or not surprising that the Patriots moved back at all. This is what Bill Belichick has done as we're trying to see what Anthony Lynn, the head coach, and Tom Telesco, the general manager of the LA Chargers, are going to do. Listen, the Patriots are going to take a quarterback some point in this draft process, but it wasn't going to be in the first round. And what they're doing is gearing up for picks potentially to move and shake around a quarterback in the third or fourth round. But the Chargers got their quarterback for sure in the first round when they took Justin Herbert, 6th overall out of Oregon. We're still waiting on Jordan Love's situation, where that's going to shake down and maybe potentially have 4 quarterbacks go in the first round. But we're also waiting to figure out what the Chargers are going to do. Again, this was a team that is moving on from everything that happened with the Phillip Rivers era. There is Jordan Love, still waiting to hear his name called. Now let's find out what the Chargers are going to do.
The New England Patriots have traded the 23rd pick to the Los Angeles Chargers With the 23rd pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Kenneth Murray, linebacker, Oklahoma.
Well, the Chargers have their Murray, as in Kenneth Murray, the linebacker from Oklahoma. This kid is fascinating. First of all, one of his first sports that he played well was golf. So he'll do very well in the Los Angeles area. Lots of great golf courses. But he is a fascinating guy, and he was a kid that people saw right away. His uncle said, I called him meat because at the age of 2, I knew that was a man right there. And he has been a man on the field and a man off the field in so many ways. Lewis, take us through what the Chargers are getting in Kenneth Murray.
They're getting a 3-down linebacker, Trey, who absolutely can just wreak havoc from sideline to sideline. I thought his key and diagnose his eyes were where they needed to be at all times. He's a guy who inserted downhill with tremendous physicality on a consistent basis. He's a guy who played with a ton of energy. He's one of those guys who really does neutralize the second level of the field for the defense and can match up with running backs or tight ends. I love this pick for the Chargers. They needed an upgrade of speed and playmaking ability at the second level, and they've got it with Kenneth Murray for sure, Booger.
Without a doubt, and when you understand what defensive coordinator Gus Bradley wants to do in that 4-3, 3-deep zone scheme, he wants a guy that can see ball, hit ball. Kenneth Murray can definitely do that. But more than anything, when you drop back in zone coverage, can he find the zone? Can he look up the underneath receiver? Can he look up the tight end? Gus Bradley has coached some great linebackers in his days, coaching Derrick Brooks. He understands how to put that linebacker, whether it's a middle linebacker or a will linebacker, put him in the right position to make plays. This is a great fit for Kenneth Murray, and I know Gus Bradley and Anthony Lynn have got to be happy out in Los Angeles.
Well, listen, Kenneth Murray learned CPR when he was 12, and he used it to help save a life from someone on the Oklahoma campus a year ago. Tom Telesco and company are very, very happy. Lincoln Riley sees another one of his former Sooners go off the board as Kenneth Murray is now headed to the Chargers.
Here's the thing about managing multiple clouds for your business. When you've got public clouds and private clouds and hybrid clouds, things can get a bit cloudy for you. But now, there's the Dell Technologies Cloud. Powered by VMware, a single hub for a consistent operating experience across all your clouds. That should clear things up.
Right now, get free delivery at Chipotle. With a delivery kitchen in almost every restaurant, real food comes straight to your door. It's Chipotle, delivered fast, fresh, and personalized just for you. Order in the app for free delivery.
At Sprint, our priority is keeping our customers, employees, and communities safe. During these uncertain times, we want you to get the great service you expect without leaving the safety of your home. Sprint.com makes shopping easier by offering free next-day shipping and no activation fees on our best new phone deals, like the amazing iPhone 11 for just $15 a month when you switch. For now, Sprint.com is the best way to learn about our plans, buy new phones, and get the services you need. Stay healthy and go to Sprint.com today.
This is my home. I made a promise to protect it. Me and this family can't break it.
This is survival. It's called economic evolution.
Let's kill or be killed. You are sealing yourself into the Alamo. This valley's mine. Come and get it. I plan to.
Yellowstone's new season premieres Father's Day, Sunday, June 21st on Paramount Network.
Since 1926, Nationwide has been on your side.
We've been there in person during trying times.
Today, being on your side means staying home.
Nationwide Office of Customer Advocacy.
Nationwide. But we can still support you and the heroes who are with you.
We're giving refunds on auto insurance premiums.
Assisting customers with financial hardships.
And our foundation is contributing millions of dollars to charities helping with COVID-19 relief.
Keeping our promise to be on your side.
Before the road trips, the cool mornings, the
hot cast iron. Short nights and the long cast. Start your camping season at the Outdoor Authority sale at Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Gear up and save on top brands like Ascend, Eclipse, and Redhead. Your adventure starts here. Shop online at BassPro.com and Cabela's.com.
In the Samoan culture, your family name is gold. That name is either going to make you or break you, so he wants to represent that name.
Hi, I'm Sean Payton, head coach of the New Orleans Saints. As many of you know, I was diagnosed with COVID-19 a month and a half ago and have been fortunate enough to have fully recovered. Many people across our country and across the world have not been as fortunate. My thoughts and prayers go out to all of those who have lost loved ones during this extremely difficult time. To all of our first responders, healthcare providers, and essential workers, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. You are the heroes who will get our country through this.
Sean Payton knows firsthand what COVID-19 can do, and here he was donating plasma on Monday to help COVID-19 patients. As you know, Payton was the first person within the NFL family to be diagnosed with COVID-19. People who've recovered from COVID-19 have begun donating their plasma because their antibodies may help other patients fight off the disease. And there's a sign outside our campus here on Bristol saying thank you to frontliners and the first responders. So we take a look at the New Orleans Saints, as there is the fully recovered Sean Payton getting set to figure out what they're going to do with the 24th selection in the first round. And, you know, they've had so much heartbreak over the last 3 seasons. The last 3 postseasons, they've lost games on which the winning points in that game were scored on the final play of the game. They've had some losses in the secondary. They did pick up Emmanuel Sanders, getting him over in free agency after he was let go by San Francisco. So where will the Saints go? What are we thinking about the possibilities here for them? Louis Riddick, what are you thinking?
I think, Trey, they need playmaking ability at the second level of their defense at linebacker. So we see Kenneth Murray go off the board. Patrick Queen is there now. Their linebackers weren't very productive in terms of tackles across the league, in terms of pass breakups, forced fumbles. They really struggled in this area. So could they use a playmaking linebacker who can roam sideline to sideline on that defense to go along with a very good defensive front and an improving secondary? Absolutely. This is a team that's ready to challenge. They can really just take best player available, and Patrick Queen may be sitting there staring right at him.
All right, the pick is in. Let's find out where New Orleans goes with the 24th pick in the first round of the 2020 draft.
With the 24th pick in the 2020 NFL draft, the New Orleans Saints select Cesar Ruiz, center, Michigan.
So there you see the very emotional reaction from Cesar Ruiz. He said a few years ago he was born to play center, and while that is his preference, he would do whatever is needed. And he is going through this draft process with a very, very heavy heart. Who you don't see in the picture there with Cesar Ruiz is his father, Cesar Edwin Ruiz. 31 career starts at Michigan. He's dedicated his career to his father, who in December of 21 pulled over on the side of a road, Route 55 in South Jersey, to help another car whose driver was trying to change a flat tire. He was then struck and killed by a driver who reportedly fled the scene of the accident. His father was 26 at the time. Ruiz was only 8 years old, and he said he knows his father would one day be proud of the man he is today. And that's why the reaction is there for Cesar Ruiz going to the New Orleans Saints. The emotion hitting him. This is some of the best part of what makes the draft the draft. Dreams fulfilled, and thinking so often about those who are not there to be with them in this time. Mel Kiper, simply as a player, what are the Saints getting in Cesar Ruiz?
Versatility, Trey. You got a guy who started at guard, 5 starts at right guard early on, then the last 2 years anchoring that Michigan Wolverine line. Appeared in 36 games, 31 career starts, 26 at center, 5 at right guard. Think about a guy as a run blocker. He went head up, we're on the move, he can pull, he gets to the second level. Pass protection, good technique, feet, base, he can mirror, he can re-anchor. Talked about versatility. I think that's the key here is the ability to fill a hole at center or guard, DJ. Cesar Ruiz, clearly the best center in the draft. As a guard, you could argue he was one of the top guys at that spot. I think it's a nice pick for a team in the interior of the offensive line with a veteran quarterback. Nearing the end of a great career for Drew Brees, get a guy like Cesar Ruiz to help the interior.
Yeah, Mel, I thought he was a top interior offensive lineman in this draft, regardless. You're talking about center or guard. He's just very firm. And you mentioned Drew Brees. Drew Brees has always required that up front. I just find it fascinating that last year they went and got a center in Eric McCoy, who played very well last year. And now you bring another player with the versatility to play a couple different spots there. Lewis, the Saints will just continue to reinvest in the middle of that offensive line. It served them well.
Yeah, remember back in their heyday, as far as offensive lines were concerned, when they had Jari Evans and Carl Nix at the offensive guard positions. Why? Just as you alluded to, DJ, to make sure that the pocket stayed secure. This just fortifies the interior of their offensive line. If Cesar has the ability to play two positions and he can move over and slide over to guard, and Eric McCoy can stay at center, it just fortifies this team inside out, which is a great fundamental way to build your roster. And really, they just took best player available for them, and you gotta give them credit for the pick here.
Yeah, Lewis, just so you know, I love what Ruiz had to say about his confidence. If you look at the film and look how I dominate people, I am very confident that I am a first-round pick. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the pick. And by the way, we have another trade in the first round here. Again, we had 6 trades in the first round last year. This is only the 3rd that we've had in this year. San Francisco has traded back in. So Minnesota, who had 2 first-round picks because of the trade they made when they sent Stephon Diggs to the Buffalo Bills, they're down to 1. San Francisco has traded back in to the first round. Remember, they were at 13 and 31. Or they still have 31, right? Do they still have 31? They still have 31. They just moved up in the San Francisco Tampa Bay swap. Let's go to Adam Schefter. Adam, what more can you tell us here? Adam, can you hear me?
Yeah, Trey. Here's the trade, basically. Moments ago, the San Francisco 49ers traded picks 31, 117, and 176 to Minnesota for the 25th overall pick. And what the 49ers were doing was, in this deep wide receiver class, they need to strengthen that position. They lost Emmanuel Sanders in free agency. Their only 2 healthy wide receivers right now are Deebo Samuel and Kendrick Bourne. Jalen Hurd is coming back off injury, last year's rookie. He could wind up playing tight end. They need wide receiver help. There's a lot of wide receivers out there, and the 49ers just have made the move right now to trade all those picks up to Minnesota's spot to take a wide receiver here, I believe.
All right, Adam, thanks very much. We appreciate that. So there you see Kyle Shanahan and company in a very cozy confine working through the virtual draft. But again, they give up that 31st pick, so they move up, 5 slots here to 25, or 6 slots rather, to take the 25th overall pick here, as John Lynch also trying to figure out. It does seem like wide receiver would be the play here, right, Daniel Jeremiah?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. My highest rated receiver that's left is Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State, who I think is outstanding. Another one that is outstanding after the catch. He's been working out with TJ Houshmandzadeh, and TJ told me he reminded him a lot of Chad Johnson, who he played with there in Cincinnati. So that's high praise for Brandon Ayuk. I think he'd be a great fit in that offense.
All right, Daniel, thanks. So the pick is in. San Francisco has moved up from 31 to 25. Let's see where they're going with another first-round pick.
The Minnesota Vikings have traded the 25th pick to the San Francisco 49ers. With the 25th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver, Arizona State.
All right, Daniel Jeremiah, nicely done. Brandon Ayuk is indeed the selection. So that's the 2nd straight year. Forks up, Herm Edwards, that an Arizona State Sun Devil wide receiver has gone in the first round. N'Keal Harry went there a year ago when he went into I believe the last pick to the New England Patriots. He's from Reno, Nevada. He transferred from Sierra College. But what's really interesting about Brandon Ayuk is the fact that he's basically just about 6 feet tall, but his wingspan is 81 inches. Let's put that in comparison, Michael Irvin. Megatron was 6'5", Calvin Johnson. He had an 82-inch wingspan. This guy is 5 inches shorter, and his wingspan is only 1 inch less. How is that possible?
Worked. I tell you, it's a blessing from God to have that reach. I call that an area code wide receiver. You put the phone anywhere, you put the ball anywhere in the area code, and he will make that play. And you match him up. You give Kyle Shanahan, that genius of an offensive mind, a guy like Brandon Ayuk, who can make plays with the ball, as you're watching right here on the screen. I mean, it's going to be a great combination to put with that young group they have in San Francisco.
Yeah, when you think about Brandon Ayuk, just think about this stat right here. His yards after catch per reception was better than even Henry Ruggs III. This guy's a big playmaker, a big play waiting to happen. They got him the ball on wide receiver screens as well as anybody in college football, and he was able to make guys miss and take it the distance. He was one of the best double move route runners in the NFL as well. A guy who also can return punts and really break the game open that way. This is a great pick for the San Francisco 49ers and gives them that home run hitter that they need.
All right, so that's the 6th wide receiver in the first round. Kyle Shanahan seems to be very happy about the fact that Brandon Ayuk is now a member of the San Francisco 49ers. John Lynch pleased as well. We'll see if the Niner fan base will be pleased when they see Ayuk on the field.
You're watching the 2020 NFL Draft, presented by Lowe's.
All right, where were we? There you are. Here we go, here we go. Yes! Sorry, it took forever. Come on, come on, come on. Hey, buddy.
When do you fit me home?
One more sleep. Love you, buddy. Out into the open world? That's my way to play. Nintendo Switch.
We hope you find our digital solutions helpful to bank safely from home. Deposit a check with your phone or tablet. Check balances. Pay bills. Transfer money and more. Send money to people you know and trust with Zelle. Stay safe. Stay home. Together, we'll get through this. PNC Bank.
The Snowpiercer, 1,001 cars long.
Be prepared to brace.
Each of us has a personal responsibility to the engine eternal.
It's them or us.
Crush this mutiny now, forever. You have to make sacrifices.
Snowpiercer premieres Sunday, May 17th at 9 on TNT.
When you're home, there's nothing like enjoying a classic with a classic. Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories.
The Bad Boys are back.
What?
No, you better drink it.
Don't you know family is all that matters?
You gotta sing it right, man.
Bad Boys for Life. Buy or rent today.
People used to care. Heck, they'd come all the way out here just for a blurry photo of me.
Oh, that's a good one.
Wait, what's that?
That's just a low battery warning.
Right.
Now it's all, check out my RV and let's go four-wheeling. Maybe there's a little part of me that wanted to be seen.
Well, Progressive helps people save when they bundle their home with their outdoor vehicles, so they've got other things to do now, Bigfoot.
Wait, what did you just call me?
Bigfoot?
My name is Daryl.
My mentality was to go out and win at any cost.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jimmy Kimmel. We miss entertaining you and ourselves in my hometown of Las Vegas.
But, of course, the most important thing to do now is to stay home and stay safe.
If your home happens to be an empty luxury resort that you own, well, all the better for you.
So thank you for doing your part in the fight against COVID-19.
And on behalf of all of us at Caesars Entertainment, we also want to send our deepest thanks to all the medical professionals and first responders.
We're keeping us all safe and keeping our communities going.
You are our heroes.
We're going to get through this. And when we do, rest assured, all of us in Las Vegas will be ready to perform for all of you.
And there you see a live look of Vegas and Allegiant Stadium just off the strip there behind Caesars Palace. And we're looking forward to getting back there. Roger Goodell, the commissioner, made the announcement earlier tonight that Vegas will be the host of the 2022 draft. Again, it's 2021 in Cleveland, 2023 in Arrowhead. They had an empty year, and that will be Las Vegas in 2022. We are all in this together, folks. Help us make a difference now. Huddle up for COVID-19 relief efforts and join players, teams, fans, and communities around the country in the NFL Draft-a-thon. If we unite behind this cause, we can provide relief for those significantly impacted by the pandemic. Every dollar counts. Mel's Best Available, brought to you by Lowe's. Mel, what do you see?
Pure football player Xavier McKinney, that 4.6 340 at the combine may have hurt him a bit in prioritizing safety. Teams look at corners. A.J. Terrell, not the player McKinney is in terms of a pure football player, but he goes because he's a cover corner. You think about a guy like Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, what they meant to Seattle's secondary. Safeties are important. Xavier McKinney is a great player. And Jordan Love, we knew who's going to take a quarterback once they start falling. Maybe Green Bay at the end of the first round or somebody trading back in is the only opportunity for the quarterback that ended up falling. And in this case, it was Jordan Love from Utah State. All right, we're still waiting to see where Jordan Love will go, as is everybody there at the house in Bakersfield, California. Meanwhile, we have another trade, our fourth of the first round, guys. Green Bay is now on the clock. Remember, they traded with Miami. This would have been the slot that Miami had from the Laramie Tunsil trade with Houston. As you see, Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst, the general manager of the Green Bay Packers. So the Packers, guys, they were in the NFC Championship game, but they got shoved around in that game by San Francisco. As you look at this team, Mel, what are you thinking Green Bay is needing right now in the draft? Well, you know, wide receiver, it was all Devontae Adams. And tight end like Cole Kmet, you think about T. Higgins from Clemson, wide receiver still on the board that had that kind of ability, and a great tight end prospect like Cole Kmet as well. Mentioned Jordan Love. That was more of a luxury pick with Aaron Rodgers looking for weapons. It's all Devontae Adams. That's the only weapon they have in the passing game. And now you have, like I say, guys with size, that catch radius of a power forward like T. Higgins could be, and a tight end with the capability of Cole Kmet from Notre Dame. Yeah, Cole Kmet's going to be an interesting one. He put on a show at the Combine and certainly upped his stock. Okay, apparently the pick is in for Green Bay, so let's find out what the Packers are going to do. Again, they moved up in a trade here with Miami. Miami will only have 2 first-round picks. Here is Green Bay. Let's find out where they go.
You've been waiting all night for this. Let's go. The Miami Dolphins have traded the 26th pick to the Green Bay Packers. With the 26th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State.
Okay, this is fascinating because I believe Aaron Rodgers is the same age as Brett Favre was in 2005 when they selected Aaron Rodgers in the first round, stunning Brett Favre. And you have to wonder how stunned Aaron Rodgers might be that a quarterback is going 26th overall when Aaron Rodgers went 24th overall in the 2005 draft. But there you have the 4th quarterback in the first round, and this was a guy who was a late bloomer. You see there, 5'6", 130 when he entered high school. He's now 6'3", 224 pounds, and he broke the records at Utah State. Let's go back to NFL Network's Kurt Warner, a Hall of Fame quarterback. Kurt, A, are you surprised by this move, first of all?
Well, yeah, I am surprised a little bit, Trey, is that obviously you have Aaron Rodgers
going to play a few more years, but wants to win now and wants to have some weapons around him to give him the firepower to be successful. But as you mentioned before, this worked out pretty well for him when they went and got Aaron Rodgers when Brett Favre had a couple years left. So now they're just building for the future. A lot of people compare this guy to a Patrick Mahomes. He's got that upside, that athleticism, the ability to make some of those special throws that Green Bay has seen for a number of years with Aaron Rodgers. So it's about preparing for the future, getting that next quarterback. But I am a bit surprised because I know Aaron Rodgers is thinking, get me some more weapons. I want to win more before I retire.
Yeah, it's philosophy. It's like, think about a quarterback that could be the heir apparent, or do you help Aaron Rodgers and get him weapons? And there's a lot of depth at wide receiver. You can find those guys into the 4th, 5th round. But for Jordan Love, he's a developmental quarterback. He needs time to learn in a transition. Obviously, coming off a rough year at Utah State, losing all those starters on the offensive line, losing the weapons around him, losing his offensive coordinator and his head coach. You go back 2 years ago, he looked like a top 10, top 15 pick, potentially DJ, but too much. You can't reload at Utah State, losing all they did. He tried to do too much, but the arm talent you cannot coach.
Yeah, no doubt, Mel. When you talk about the decision-making being concerning, that is absolutely true. But when you go look at the video and study this kid, he's got more talent than any other passer in this entire draft. Let me show you what I'm talking about when you see him. Watch him on the move, the roll, right, show you the touch, the accuracy to be able to get this ball up and down, very smooth, very easy on the road against Michigan State. How about the ability to rip a skinny post in here? Can you fit a ball in a tight window? Watch the triangle of defenders. He's able to squeeze that one in with premier velocity. Now, can you read the full field? He doesn't do a lot of it, but you see glimpses of it, like here against LSU, working right to left. His feet don't even follow his eyes. He still is able to whip the ball out there to the flat very smoothly. And then it's the creativity to be able to buy some time and to be able to throw on the move. LSU, think about the difference in talent between Utah State and LSU. This kid has a lot of ability, but he's got to clean up the decision-making.
Yeah, again, he was phenomenal 2 years ago. But again, real quickly, Aaron Rodgers is 36. Brett Favre was 35. So basically the same age when this happened. But Jordan Love's story is fascinating on a lot of levels. And for more on that, let's check in with our Susie Calder.
The Jordan Love story has been a wild card in this draft, and we're all surprised that Green Bay traded up to take you. Jordan, what about you?
Oh, I'm just super excited. Yeah, it's just all excitement right now.
Would you have ever expected this?
Hey, I mean, I didn't know what to expect coming into this, so, I'm super excited. Had some good talks with coaching staff here at Green Bay, so I'm excited.
So what do you think you can learn from Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, I'm already knowing I can learn a lot from Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's one of the GOATs right there in the game, and I'm excited to be able to come back behind him and just learn as much as I can.
Especially now, we are all so appreciative of the people on the front lines and the people who protect us. Both your parents were in law enforcement. Tonight, you fulfill your father's vision. How do you feel you've done that?
I mean, just by all the work, I put in to get here, and the work that he got me here. I mean, really. So I definitely fulfilled my father's vision.
Jordan, congratulations. You're going to the Green Bay Packers.
Thank you. Yes, I am. Thank you.
All right, there you see Orban Love, Jordan's father, with him and some of his siblings. For those that don't know the story, Orban took his life on July 13th, 2013, 16 days shy of his 52nd birthday. He was a member of the police force in Bakersfield, California. But he had just had a change in his blood pressure medicine, and he began acting very strangely after that. Jordan and everybody in the family wanted to go out of the way to say he was not a depressed human being. He didn't have those problems. They had tried to change his blood pressure medication once before, and there were some other strange behavioral issues, so they went back to the old medication, but after it rose again, they tried another one, and not long after that, Orban Love took his life. And in the obituary, by the way, they wanted to make sure that they said he was, and I quote, taken by a medical demon. So it was the blood pressure medicine the family believes that caused some of that. So All of that, the background of Jordan Love, now the quarterback taken in the first round by the Green Bay Packers, coming off an NFC Championship game appearance. And again, it was in 2005 when Brett Favre was just about the same age. The Packers decided to take Aaron Rodgers in the first round at the 24th pick of 2005 draft. Okay, before we get to our next pick, we have a special message now from some people working very hard. No special message. Okay, we'll get to that a little bit later. That's going to happen at some point tonight. I apologize. Seattle is up on the board at 27. Obviously, the NFC West is a very, very difficult division. We've seen it top to bottom. And obviously, the Arizona Cardinals have improved themselves, they believe, with the picks they've made in the last couple of drafts, including Kyler Murray overall. So where do we think Seattle is going? Lewis, let's start with you as we take a look at the Seattle Seahawks at 27.
Well, I think the lines are really where maybe they would look to address right here, both offensively and defensively. Could they use another offensive tackle, particularly on the right side? Of course. Could they use another pass rusher? Look, they struggled generating pass rush on and putting pressure on the quarterbacks with 4 up front. Is there anyone that's really sticking out right now? I mean, really, you're just going to take best player available. But if they're going to go for positions, maybe they can address offensive tackle, see if they can get a pass rusher here that they can develop and really help put some heat on the passer like they used to back in the days when they were winning the Super Bowl.
All right, Lewis, thanks very much. So we'll see what happens with Seattle. Again, they have Russell Wilson. They've had issues on the offensive line as long as Russell Wilson has been there. They've tried to fix that a couple of times. That has not worked, but we're going to see what happens there. So we're going to go with what's going on in Seattle right now with the 27th overall pick. So now, before we get to the pick, we have a special message from some people working very hard on the front lines at CenturyLink Field in Seattle.
Hello, Chef Patel here at CenturyLink Field. Lately, our home here, like many, has been pretty busy. Right now, this kitchen is pumping out 3,500 meals for our community every day, and we are gearing up to do more by the day. Just like our Seahawks, we are about putting in the work and taking action. We are working hard to protect our community and the ones that are most vulnerable. Now, let's welcome a new face to our home. Go Hawks!
Thank you to everyone working so hard in Seattle and all over the country to take care of our most vulnerable. It's great to see our teams and stadiums helping those who need it the most in our communities. So with the 27th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Jordan Brooks, linebacker, Texas Tech.
Well, this is interesting because I had one coach tell me this week, I wish people would stop putting Jordan Brooks in their mock draft. We love this kid. We don't want everybody to know him. But you look at the numbers there, 367 tackles. He led the Red Raiders in tackles 2016, 2018, and 2019. You look at what he's doing on the field, and the production, Lewis, has just been incredible.
Yeah, Trey, this is a super fast linebacker who basically lines up at Mike Backer in both base and sub. Now, he is a guy who really can get after it from a point of attack standpoint and coming downhill. Now, he's a guy who in coverage, I struggled with him a little bit as far as his zone coverage awareness and his man coverage exposure. You don't see him doing a lot of that, but when he is able to key and diagnose like you see right here, he can come and he will bring it and he will bring the wood and make some physical, impressive tackles. Mel, what did you see when you evaluated Brooks?
Tackling machine. I tell you, when he was out there, that Red Raider defense, he was their best player. He jumped out at you, and I think you look at a 6', 240-pounder coming off a shoulder injury. He runs at the combine 4.54. This kid can fly around the field. Now he's got the durability concern with the shoulder injuries, but when he's on the field, you can see when he wasn't on the field, DJ, against Texas, they rolled up over 600 yards. So he was a difference maker. He's a good football player. I thought he'd go no later than the mid-second round, and there were a lot of teams that thought very highly of Jordan Brooks, DJ.
Yeah, that 4.54 speed, Mel, shows up on tape. And just think about this pick for the division. When you have San Francisco, the Rams, and the Arizona Cardinals, they're going to force your linebackers to play out in space. Well, you don't get any more space than playing in Lubbock and playing in the Big 12. This guy's had his whole existence in space, so it makes sense for the fit inside the division where they got to play those teams twice.
Yeah, the NFC West is just unbelievable. Pete, very happy. A lot of room in Pete Carroll's virtual setup there in Kirkland, Washington. Pete seems very happy. Sure, John Schneider is happy as well. Yeah, there he is. The draft continues now as we're getting close to the end of the first round.
You're watching the 2020 NFL Draft, presented by Lowe's.
If you're over mac and cheese and PB&J's, have we got good news for you? Right now, get Pizza Hut's best delivery deal. Large pizzas with up to 3 toppings for just $9.99. Available for carryout or contactless delivery at pizzahut.com.
Looks good.
Sure, let me help you with that.
Yeah, I'm married. Doesn't matter. You do that for me? Really? Yeah, I'd like that.
Who are you talking to?
It's Jake from State Farm. Sounds like a really good deal.
Jake from State Farm at 3 in the morning? Who is this?
It's Jake from State Farm.
What are you wearing, Jake from State Farm?
Khakis? Hey, do they ever ask you what you're wearing?
Yeah.
Red sweater, button-down shirt. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hairstyling was only about looks, but Head & Shoulder stylers do more. Strong on style, kind on scalp. Strong on style, and kind on scalp. Introducing Head & Shoulder Stylers. Styling products that are both strong on style and kind on the scalp.
Cheez-It snapped. How's it taste? It's so thin, crispy, and cheesy. And I just want to keep eating it. And eating it. They love them.
Snapped. So good we may run out of cheese. When new smartphones are expensive, the family has to share one. Step up with Boost Mobile and get 4 free Samsung Galaxy A20 phones when you switch. Or don't and prepare to lose some furniture.
Got it.
Step up with Boost Mobile and get 4 lines for $25 per line per month. Or don't and remodel the living room. Switch to Boost Mobile and get 4 free Samsung Galaxy A20 phones, all on our super reliable, super fast network. As an essential service, Boost Mobile is committed to keeping you connected by remaining open.
ESPN is your source for the latest news.
He is available and he is free to be signed.
Expert analysis.
There's confidence that there is going to be baseball. This is going to be a complicated scenario.
And the best storytelling in sports all week on ESPN.
A lovely
As jobs get cut, we are there. As plates go empty, we are there. As beds disappear, we are there. Thanks to your generosity, we are there with hope, kindness, and without discrimination. Today and always. Please consider giving what you can to help our most vulnerable.
Absolutely delighted to be part of the NFL draft on here, doing whatever we can to raise money for COVID-19 relief. Okay. There's Antoine Winfield, of course, waiting to see if he'll hear his name called, as his father, Antoine Winfield, was, I believe, the 23rd pick overall in the 1992 draft. There's Grant Delpit out of LSU. Jim Thorpe Award winner for the best defensive back this past season. And also Patrick Queen, the linebacker out of LSU. So we're waiting to see when their names will indeed be called. So the 32 young men drafted tonight will obviously go on to do great things on the field, but they'll also make tremendous impacts in their communities. Nobody exemplified that more than Walter Payton. Tonight, we're proud to have a special mention from Calais Campbell.
This past season, I was truly honored and humbled to be named the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year. It's very special to me. I want to send a special thank you to the NFL, the Payton family, and nationwide for shining a big spotlight on all the players across the league who are making a difference in their communities. Now I'm excited to be joining the Baltimore Ravens for the next chapter of my NFL career. In Baltimore, I'm excited to be a part of the family. Let's welcome our newest member to the Baltimore Ravens. Be ready to go, and let's get it.
Thank you, Calais, for your excellence on and off the field. The Walter Payton Man of the Year Award is our highest honor, and you, Calais, are truly a role model to all of us, and congratulations on being a Raven. With the 28th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Patrick Queen, linebacker, LSU.
Well, I guess it's not a surprise that we're seeing a draft dominated by Alabama and LSU players, is it? Patrick Queen made game-changing plays when they mattered most. It was his interception right before the half that led to LSU's halftime lead over Alabama, 33-13. Had a sack in each of the regular season finale against A&M and the SEC championship game. And he was all over Clemson in the national title game. 2.5 sacks for loss and a half a sack to go along with 8 tackles. Boog, he was the defensive MVP, and he was a guy on a mission this year for LSU.
Well, without a doubt, Trainer, and I think his best football is still in front of him. Young player, but he plays sideline to sideline. He may not be the biggest guy at only 6 foot and 229 pounds, but his ability to drop back in coverage, see ball, hit ball, diagnose play, and go and put a thumping on a running back was evident in the game against Clemson. I just love his coverage ability. There are several times in the game against Clemson where it was a screen play, whether it was in zone coverage, where he made a tackle that if he didn't make it, it was a touchdown. The Baltimore Ravens, with their big beef up front, with Calais Campbell, Brandon Williams, and now adding Derek Wolfe, they're going to have an undersized linebacker that's going to be clean. He's going to be able to go sideline to sideline and stay clean and make plays in that defense for Baltimore.
And Boog, I'll tell you what, when I watched this kid, having spent 4 years in that Ravens organization, I wrote down, this guy plays like a Raven. He was my 15th overall player, so you're getting tremendous value. His ability to make plays sideline to sideline and just the energy that he plays with fits the Baltimore Ravens organization. And Boog, your alma mater is celebrating. I don't know if Ozzie Newsome went to the bathroom or not, but Eric DeCosta took an LSU player, the first time the Ravens have ever drafted an LSU player. And with Ozzie Newsome being an Alabama guy, I think he might have stepped out of the room for a minute.
Yeah, I think this Patrick Queen, he matches up as far as the cerebral part of the game and the physical part of the game. The guy plays smart. He can diagnoses instantly, and he's a guy who then can get off the spot, and he is flying. He may be undersized, but when it comes to measurables as far as his speed is concerned and how it transfers to the field, there's no wonder he makes plays in the run game and even more importantly in the passing game. A 3-down player that'll hide behind that big defensive line. And Mel, I think this is a great pickup for what they need on the second level of that defense down there in Baltimore.
Yeah, I contend they may not even win a national title without this guy because the offense was so great. The defense had struggled. Remember, Grant Delpit had been banged up with the ankle, and this guy was the most improved defensive player. Came out of nowhere. Dave Aranda had said, defensive coordinator, most improved player by far on that defense. And for the Ravens, C.J. Mosley was such an integral part of that defense. And you think about the need area at inside linebacker was right there. Number one need area on this football team. To see Patrick Queen fall there, New Orleans really did him a favor by taking Cesar Ruiz because I thought that was a spot maybe Queen would go after Murray had gone. So now all of a sudden the Ravens sit there, don't have to trade up and get a guy that fills a major hole and as a guy can be an immediate starter behind, as you say, that veteran defensive line.
Well, you saw that home where they were celebrating in Ventress, Louisiana. His mom knew, as we get a virtual high five here from John Harbaugh and Eric DeCosta in separate places. His mom knew at a very early age he was going to be something special. When he was 4 years old, she saw this light out of the corner of her eye swinging back and forth, and she looked up, and as a 4-year-old, Patrick Queen had jumped up and was just hanging out on the chandelier. So he was a little rambunctious as early as 4 years old, and now he's going to be rambunctious on the field for the Ravens, going with the 28th pick in the first round. Now, the Tennessee Titans are on the clock, and of course, they're drafting late because they made it all the way to the AFC Championship game, and they did it by taking down the King. There's Mike Vrabel, Titans head coach, and John Robinson, the executive vice president GM. They both, of course, came through the Patriots organization, and it was this team with that guy, Derrick Henry, that took down the defending Super Bowl champions, holding the Patriots at just 13 points, and Logan Ryan, a former Patriot, picked off Tom Brady to end the game, the last pass Tom Brady would ever throw as a Patriot. Derrick Henry, of course, then went on to maul the Ravens 28-12, 195 rushing yards and a touchdown. Lamar Jackson was limited in that game. Yeah, he put up a bunch of yards, but a lot of them came late when the game was out of reach. And they were up big on Kansas City, but everybody was up big on Kansas City until Patrick Mahomes says, no, it's winning time, and they won the AFC Championship game 35-24, despite the fact that they were up by double digits twice in that game. And Mike Vrabel's probably not very happy watching those highlights. Sorry, Mike. We just had to recap the season the best way we saw it. As we look at Kurt Warner here, Ryan Tannehill is there. What do we think we need to see around them going forward with this pick?
Well, I think, Trey, they want to continue to build and be the team that they were last year. Ryan Tannehill was at his best when they ran the football, they ran play action, and they attacked down the field. And so Jack Conklin is gone now. Do they try to rebuild that offensive line? Do they get another weapon on the outside? Of course, they've got some defensive needs as well. But you know they want to play the same brand of football. They want Ryan Tannehill. They brought him back to play that same brand of football. It was the best football he played of his career. So I believe they can rebuild on the offensive line if they want, or get him another weapon. I wouldn't be surprised if they went defensive line as well.
Well, it was really interesting the way they constructed that team, because it was going to go as far as Derrick Henry would take them. And during the regular season, Tannehill was actually a stud. When they made the move from Mariota to Ryan Tannehill, that offense clicked, especially down in the red zone. They became one of the best red zone offense in football. Didn't quite translate that way in the postseason, but Tannehill is their guy going forward at quarterback. Where are they going with pick 29? Let's go to the commissioner.
With the 29th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Isaiah Wilson, tackle, Georgia.
They're going beef. So that's the second offensive lineman from Georgia off the board. You saw Andrew Thomas go much earlier. Now they go guard with Isaiah Wilson. So many of those offensive linemen out of Georgia were some of the best in the country. At one point, their offensive line this season just absolutely looks massive. Mel, what do we like about Isaiah Wilson?
Yeah, 6'6", and a half, 350, huge. We talk about Mekhi Becton, how big he is. And Isaiah Wilson, not quite as light on his feet as Becton is, but as a run blocker, can be dominant driving defenders off the ball when he has the proper leverage. Again, capable of getting to the second level. Results are a little mixed at times. And pass protection, he has decent feet. Better footwork at times is needed, hand placement, pad level, all those things are coming. I thought he needed another year at Georgia. Go back, work on some things technique-wise, and maybe be a top 15 pick next year. He slides into the late first, opposite, obviously, at right tackle, opposite Andrew Thomas. DJ, when you look at Isaiah Wilson, I think another year would have really helped him. He's raw. They had Dennis Kelly there at right tackle. He can maybe challenge or be a guy that can learn from Kelly, obviously taking over for Conklin. So I think he needed another year. He's a little bit of a developmental guy, but he's got some upside.
Yeah, he's going to be the first one off the bus, though, Mel. I can promise you that. I mean, he looks like he's a wrestler. I mean, he is enormous, and we saw him move really well at the Combine. I'm with you in terms of what you see in the run game. He can displace people at the line of scrimmage. Georgia loved to run the football, but in pass protection, I thought he really struggled to sink his weight and play low, got a little bit too high. So there's some work to go with him, needs some development, but you are going to be able to pound the ball with Derrick Henry running behind him.
Well, you mentioned a wrestler. He was a wrestler. He also played lacrosse at Brooklyn Poly Prep in New York. And now Isaiah Wilson is headed to Tennessee to try and protect Ryan Tannehill and block for Derrick Henry.
You know, you've already got a home team. Willie, Lauren, Steven, Deborah. 300,000 members of a team working hard to keep your home working for you. Because home is what unites us.
We know you might not be thinking of Burger King right now. We're thinking about you.
We are taking extra safety steps to minimize contact in our drive-thrus. Download the BK app, place your order ahead, and pick it up with contactless payment.
Let us take care of you while you take care of yourself.
In an economic downturn, contractors are usually the first to go.
Food and beverage industry has pretty much stopped.
And I was panicking, looking for something else.
In the meantime, I was like, let me get back on Indeed.
Before I started looking for a job through Indeed, I thought it would probably take me like months.
It's within like a week I heard back from this really great startup.
I started the job this morning.
I got my new job and I started today.
This is kind of a first for all of us. But maybe this is a time to put other things first, like being the first to check in, or the first to try your hand at the culinary arts, or all the arts. Be the first to volunteer, or the first to say it's all going to be okay. And when the day comes where we're no longer looking at our worlds from the inside out, it will be what we did in here that will make us stronger out there.
Calling all grassmasters, fescue fanatics, and stewards of St. Augustine to the springtime sprawlers and cultivators of the cul-de-sac. Run with us on a John Deere mower, because this is more than just grass, it's home. Search John Deere mowers for more.
Into the end zone, it's a touchdown.
Tom does a good job getting the ball out there, making a play for a touchdown. That's why you study film.
Everyone's doing what they can to get through these times, and so are we. Mercedes-Benz is making vehicle maintenance and buying needs as safe and seamless as possible. Many dealers offer options such as pickup delivery and at-home service, online shopping, and home delivery, as well as special finance arrangements. Because we understand buying and servicing your vehicle shouldn't be a challenge in these already challenging times. Get 0% APR financing up to 36 months on most models and 90-day first payment deferral on any model.
The 2020 NFL Draft is presented by Lowe's, the official home improvement sponsor of the NFL, and in part by Burger King. Get 8 original chicken nuggets for just $1. Only at Burger King.
Well, we continue in the draft. Tua Tagovailoa's night came to an early conclusion as Miami decided the hip was good. They took him at 5th, but of course that's just one of 3 picks that they had. If you have a quarterback, you want to make sure you protect him, and they went with the all Pac-12 selection, Austin Jackson, with the 18th overall pick out of USC. There was some trading back and forth, but now we're back on the Miami Dolphins. As you look at Tua and Austin Jackson, both going in the first round already, but they have another pick. Let's take a look at Mel's best available, brought to you by Lowe's. Mel, we see a lot of defensive backs and running backs on the board here.
Yeah, the safeties, Trey, not the corners. The safeties will last a little longer, but these are good football players. McKinney and Winfield are outstanding. Then the running backs. I wouldn't take what I say in the first round list. Their grade is where it should be. You see where they are. Late first round guys. Jonathan Taylor, Wisconsin, is very close to Swift and Dobbins. In fact, I think he could go maybe to Kansas City. Kansas City maybe looking running back. And then Michael Pittman Jr., all he does is get open and catch the ball in contested situations at 6'4". He ran 4.52, which was better than Juju Smith-Schuster's 4.54. Juju Smith-Schuster, second round. Devontae Adams, second round. Jarvis Landry, second round. Michael Thomas, second round. So if Michael Pittman goes second round, he's following in some very good footsteps of guys who dropped into the second because they didn't run the 4.4 or faster.
Yeah, and those players turned out to be pretty good, by the way, at the next level, Mel. All right, for more on this, let's go back to ESPN insider extraordinaire Adam Schefter. Adam, what are you hearing about what Miami might be thinking?
Well, Trey, here's the interesting part right now. We're at the point of the draft where you could finally see a running back sneak into the back portion of the first round. Essentially, no guarantees it happens, but we got Miami up at 30, Kansas City up at 32, and you have the top running backs all on the board still. DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, all out there at this point in time, waiting to be picked. We'll see whether one of these teams pulls the trigger on one of those running backs right now, but there is some running back talent on the board without a single running back being selected so far in the first round, Trey.
No, absolutely, and let's not forget Jonathan Taylor, one of the most productive running backs we've ever seen, and then there's J.K. Dobbins out of Ohio State, the first ever Ohio State running back to top 2,000 rushing yards in a season. How successful was Dobbins at Ohio State? The only player that ran for more yards? Archie Griffin. You might have heard of him. Won back-to-back Heismans in 1974 and 75. So what do we think Miami is doing as Brian Flores and Chris Greer are working the board one more time? Let's go to Daniel Jeremiah here of the NFL Network. Daniel, we've seen a quarterback and we've seen an offensive tackle to protect that quarterback. Where do you think Miami needs to go here?
Well, they have some needs on the defensive side of the ball. I thought maybe trying to find another pass rusher, whether that's inside or on the perimeter. Yetur Gross-Matos from Penn State has a ton of production. You also have Ross Blacklock, who can give you some interior pass rush. So if they wanted to go along the defensive line, there's a couple good options there. But I'm with the guys in terms of I'm curious to see, do we see a running back come off the board? Because DeAndre Swift, he sticks out like a sore thumb as my best available player.
Yeah, listen, especially with the way the running back position has sort of evolved outside of Derrick Henry, who was the leading rusher last year as a power downhill runner. Most teams are looking for running backs the likes of the Christian McCaffreys of the world, which is something that DeAndre Swift does very well, running and catching the ball out of the backfield. So for the third time, we believe the pick is in here for Brian Flores. Listen, Brian, I get it. Coffee, caffeine, it's important right now. We understand. Chris Greer, the general manager, also trying to figure out what is happening. But we believe that the pick has finally been handed into the commissioner. So we're going to find out after taking Tua Tagovailoa, 5th overall, then taking Austin Jackson, 18th overall, where the Miami Dolphins go here with their third first-round pick. Let's go back to Commissioner Goodell.
With the 30th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Noah Igbinoghene, defensive back, Auburn.
Okay, somewhat of a surprise here because remember, they paid Byron Jones and Xavier Howard all that money to be the top two paid corners in the NFL, and now they take another corner, Noah Igbinoghene, out of Auburn. Now, let me tell you something. If you want to talk about good stock, both of Noah Igbinoghene's parents are Olympians. His father, Festus, ran track at Mississippi State and competed in the triple jump for Nigeria in the '96 Olympics. And then there's his mother, Faith, a sprinter at Alabama, completed in 1992 and 1996 Olympics for Nigeria, and won the 1996 bronze medal in the 4x100 meter relay. His sister Hope is a freshman runner at Auburn, and Noah was named to the Alabama Boys Track Athlete of the Year in 2017. Noah Igbinoghene is an athlete, Mel, but he goes to a loaded backfield in Miami.
Yeah, you can make a strong argument. I did. He's the third best cornerback in this draft. He's a former wide receiver turned corner, so he's still a little raw, but the kid's got a lot of talent. He's a phenomenal kick returner. Get those XFL rules, and when you get the kick return game back in, he can be a huge weapon, but he's got recovery speed, improving cover skills. You think about a guy excelled in press coverage. He did a good job in terms of showing physicality, made some nice plays on the ball underneath. You can do a better job at times, locating the ball on the deeper routes. He was a little inconsistent there. Instincts people were critical of, DJ. I thought he showed decent instincts for a kid who was a former wide receiver with limited experience. And I'll say another thing, DJ. Gus Malzahn today was one of the most competitive players, if not the most competitive player on that team, and a very hard worker. That coaching staff was a big fan of Igbinoghene.
Yeah, that shows up, Mel, the toughness, the physicality, the wanting to get involved in the run game. He's going to play inside, in my opinion, with the Miami Dolphins. They'll put him at the nickel. You have Xavier Howard on one side. You'll have Byron Jones on the other. He can work in the slot. He does a nice job of finding the football, but you quickly realize why he's a former wide receiver. He's got 18 pass breakups over his career and only 1 interception. That's the problem. He just can't catch, but he's always in position. He can find and knock the ball away.
I can tell you the reason that Brian Flores loves this guy because of the amount of man-to-man they play in Miami, one of the top 5 teams in the National Football League as far as the amount of man coverage they play. And this guy loves to get up in your face and be physical. And DJ, I agree with you. He's going to play inside, but you add him to Byron Jones and Howard. Now they have 3 guys that can play man-to-man, and there's never enough corners or DBs that can play man-to-man in that Brian Flores scheme.
A couple of quick things. He's from Auburn, so he's the 14th player from the SEC taken in the first round. 13 was the record just a few moments ago, and now we've added another one. His high school coach said, I've been doing this for 41 years. I've never had an athlete whose parents were both Olympians. And someone said, hey, coach, you're doing a great job with Noah. And he said, brother, listen, I just tell Noah when the bus is leaving. The rest of it is up to him. I don't get in his way. So we'll see what happens there. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Vikings are now up with the penultimate pick in the first round. Let's go to Commissioner Goodell.
You got to get that horn up. With the 31st pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Jeff Gladney, defensive back, TCU.
All right, Lewis, tell a little bit us about Jeff Gladney, the cornerback out of TCU. He's been dealing with some knee injuries, but obviously people feel pretty strong about what his ability is.
Yeah, this is another guy who has a lot of upside, a lot of potential, a lot of speed. He just really needs to, again, develop his ability to finish on the football the last third of the down. But you can see here, just pinning the wide receiver to the sideline, staying in phase, going up high and high, pointing the football. And he's one of those guys that can get up on the line of scrimmage and press. He's shown pretty good zone coverage awareness. He'll tackle against the run. I like the development potential here. Look, you have a good athlete that really right now just needs some more coaching, needs some more refinement, but that's exactly what you're going to find at this point in the draft in a corner like Jeff Gladney.
To me, I saw a little bit of Denzel Ward with just how quick and feisty and competitive he was. When you watch him in off coverage, he's very fluid, he's quick, he can drive on the football. He's an outstanding blitzer, and I think that toughness is what's going to endear him to his new team because that's the way they play on that side of the ball. I think this is a nice fit there with the Minnesota Vikings.
What do you think, Mel?
I like that draft. I mean, Justin Jefferson fell to them at 22. I didn't think he'd be there. Jeff Gladney is a guy, he's a smart football player. He knows how to use his hands, not get penalties. You say, well, he can be handsy. Well, he's smart. He knows how to get in there, still be physical, yet not draw penalty flags. I love his savvy, and I love the fact that he's already a guy coming into the NFL who should be a rookie starter and help that secondary, which is what Minnesota needs at that cornerback spot. I think the Vikings did a really good job with those first 2 picks.
Okay, so those are their first 2 picks, but that leads us to the champs, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, Andy Reid's wearing a Hawaiian shirt. What else would he be wearing? And there's Brett Veach, the general manager of the Kansas City Chiefs. And of course, they're sitting in the catbird seat because 3 years ago they moved up to take that guy. Future Hall of Famer Patrick Mahomes, drafted 10th overall in 2017. Safe to say, that turned out well for Kansas City. He was the MVP his first full year as a starter, threw for 50 touchdown passes, the only other players to do that, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. He had 3 10-point comebacks in the 2019 playoff run, and the weirdest thing about that, they went on to win all of those games by at least 10 points, including Super Bowl 54. They were down 10 with 7.5 minutes to go, and Patrick Mahomes said, hold my beer, and brought him across the finish line. And listen, the Chiefs with Brett Veach and Andy Reid have done a remarkable job of retaining their talent. They have almost all of their starters back from last year, and now they're sort of in a luxury situation here about what they want to do and how they can add to a team that is going to be, right now, the favorite to maybe get back to a Super Bowl 55, which will be played in Tampa this year. So let's start with you, Mel Kiper Jr. The Kansas City Chiefs addressed a lot of the defensive needs last year that got them to the Super Bowl, and now they're sitting with a luxury almost.
They are, and that running back is there, whether it be DeAndre Swift from Georgia, who's a complete running back. I think you look at a guy like J.K. Dobbins, the way he fiercely attacks the line of scrimmage, outstanding pure runner, receiving a little inconsistent. He had a couple drops this year. Ball security's gotten a little bit better. I think you look at Jonathan Taylor, the best runner when he's holding on to the football. If he didn't have the fumbles, despite not being a great receiver, I think he'd have been a top 20 pick. He's a phenomenal pure runner. Great speed, great instincts, and tremendous production. He's got tread on the tires, but he hasn't been hurt. I just hope he keeps improving as a receiver. He's got to eliminate the fumbles. 18 in his career, 15 lost. But Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, 3 really good backs. And if you're going to take one, this is a spot to do it if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. And I make a prediction for tomorrow. Second round, I think 5 to 6 running backs go off the board in round 2.
Noted. 5 to 6 running backs off the board in round 2. Booger, it might be a little early, but when you talk about what the Chiefs do, and you saw what he did in Joe Brady's offense, I know we're talking about DeAndre Swift, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a fascinating look here as well.
Well, definitely, and I think what we're talking about right now, Trey, is we're talking about 3 down running backs to go in this offense with Patrick Mahomes and the Legion of Zoom on the outside. But also, if you're Kansas City, think about this. Chris Jones wants a new contract. Defensive tackle, pushing the pocket inside. There's some quality defensive tackles, Ross Blacklock, Neville Gallimore, Elliott on the inside, guys that can push the pocket, and maybe there's some leverage there. If you don't want to pay Chris Jones $20, $22 million, whatever he's asking, maybe you take one of these young guys here, last pick of the first round, you get that 5th-year option. Maybe Brett Veach and Andy Reid are thinking that way also. But you're right, this is a luxury pick. Running back, defensive line, I don't think they can go wrong.
Players, DeAndre Swift is my 16th overall player, Ross Blacklock at 19. So that could be the decision. Do you take the running back or do you take the defensive tackle? It's a big choice here for Andy Reid and Brett Veach and company. But, man, I tell you what, it's nice when you're making these selections when you've got number 15 ready to play with whoever you pick.
Lewis, you know these guys and you know this front office as well as anyone. With the way the team is presently constructed, with so many of their guys back from the championship run of a year ago, where do you think they might be leaning?
Yeah, I can see running back being a position that they're taking a look at. And I mean, I know there's some quality running backs there that they will like. I think they need to have more speed and even more playmaking ability at the linebacker level. Maybe even a corner could sneak up here. Look, they really are in a luxury situation where Brett Veach and Andy Reid can really sit there and go, hey, look, we can just take whoever we want here. Who really is the guy who's sticking out for us? That doesn't necessarily have to play right now, but we can develop. And I think there's a lot of guys who fit the bill here. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is a position like linebacker or corner, which is something I know they would like to continue to build depth at.
All right, so we'll see what happens. And again, this is the final pick of the first round, and we are waiting to see what Andy Reid and Brett Veach are going to come up with. But again, you know, we've seen some of the safeties out there, and we knew that they're looking at potentially trying to get the back end of that defense shored up. I know you mentioned Chris Jones. They're going to put the franchise tag on him. That could get awkward, but I'm not sure if there's someone at this point in the draft that you'd feel comfortable, because Chris Jones was such a beast for them last year when he was healthy. A little nicked up in the postseason as well, but he was healthy enough to get things going. So the Kansas City Chiefs are close to closing out the first round. And ladies and gentlemen, the pick is in. Where will the champs go? Let's find out now.
You guys aren't super fans for nothing. Let's go. Come on. With the 32nd pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs select Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back, LSU.
Sometimes you just have a hunch. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a fascinating running back for them this past season. How about this? Despite only 14 grabs his first 2 years for the Tigers, he had a school record 55 catches for 453 yards. And clearly Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a car guy, because he said, if you're a car guy, I'm like a Pirelli P0 tire fresh off the market. That's my thing. My lifespan is pretty long right now. Only 370 carries in his 3-year career. and his name is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, based on his birth father, Clyde Edwards, and his adopted stepfather, Shannon Helaire. Clyde Edwards is his biological father, but in 2000, he was arrested and sentenced to 30 years in prison when Clyde was 11 months old. Clyde's mother met Shannon Helaire and eventually became a stepfather to Clyde, and he kept both of their names to honor both of them for what they've meant. Boog, we talked about it. What a fit for the offense Andy Reid and company like to run.
Well, it's definitely a scheme fit. You think about Clyde Edwards-Helaire last year in the LSU offense. It's going to be a very similar offense with Patrick Mahomes. He can cut inside and outside as far as hiding behind those big offensive linemen. He's only 5'8", but if you look at his change of direction, the ability to get in and out of his cuts, and then the area where I think he's going to be big and pay huge dividends for the Kansas City Chiefs, catching the football out of the backfield, tough runner, but he's a three-down player, and this is what you have to have in today's NFL. Not just a runner inside or outside, but you better have somebody that can catch the football. Now, he needs to work on his pass protection, which I'm sure Andy Reid and Brad Veach knows, but they got a really, really good football player in Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Lewis?
Yeah, Coach Reid has always had multi-dimensional running backs on his roster. He's always been someone who's been able to find guys who can run between the tackles, outside the tackle box, and really they can feature him in the screen game. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire, when you combine him with Damian Williams, you have a heck of a 1-2 punch, DJ, that's going to make them even more lethal on offense.
No doubt, Lewis. And to me, when I watched him, I compared him to Priest Holmes. I haven't seen so much of him in the AFC when I was scouting. And how about that? Chiefs fans, they know what they're getting with what they had with Priest Holmes. I think this is another version of what Priest was able to do on those Chiefs teams. He is going to be a high-volume pass catcher in this offense, Trey.
Yeah, listen, this you want to talk about, and Louis Riddick said this when they drafted Patrick Mahomes a couple of years ago. It was a perfect fit for what they want to do. When you saw what Clyde Edwards-Helaire did in that Joe Brady offense, who's now the offensive coordinator with Matt Rule in Carolina, you could just see him projected into what Kansas City wants to do offensively, and it's going to be fascinating to watch Andy and company work with all those weapons. Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Williams, who was a big part of the Super Bowl win, and now Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Well, that is all 32 picks in the first round, but before we say goodbye, let's go back one more time to the commissioner, Roger Goodell.
6, 5, 4. That brings us to the conclusion of round one of the 2020 NFL Draft. Before we close, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude for joining us this evening. Thus far, the NFL family has raised more than $85 million, including millions still being raised for COVID-19 relief efforts during the draft-a-thon. And we've only just begun. So keep the donations coming, and you can keep the booze coming too. Please be sure to join us back here on ABC, ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and the NFL Network tomorrow night, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for being with us.
Roger, thanks very much. So what a night and what a showing for the SEC. Again, 14 players from the SEC conference taken in the first round. That was an absolute record. We saw the quarterbacks go almost as chalk as Miami Dolphins decided not to repeat the history of what happened with Drew Brees in 2006 when they didn't clear his shoulder. And, of course, Herbert goes right after that to the LA Chargers. This has been a lot of fun. We had a super team with us tonight. Our regular guys from ESPN, and great time having the guys from the NFL Network here, including Daniel Jeremiah, Kurt Warner, and Michael Irvin. Listen, guys, this was a blast. Boog, Mel, Lewis, you know I love you, but don't go anywhere. We're going to come back and do it again because the draft is so much fun and the emotion is such a big part of it. It started with Joe Burrow off the top, and it didn't stop there. Again, we've got all those cameras set up with 60 players across the landscape. Mr. Kinlaw was feeling himself for sure. And there, of course, Brandon Ayuk. So much still to come. Cesar Ruiz feeling the moment. We'll be back with you tomorrow night. A virtual hug from the commissioner, but coming on next SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt.
Welcome to SportsCenter. I'm Scott Van Pelt. A salute to our colleagues on Thursday night. How they pulled off televising this draft, I will never understand, and trust me, none of you would either. It is just astounding and tremendous work. We applaud you all. And how fun was it to have a night in sports where we had something to look forward to? Something was going to happen. We didn't know what it would be. Man, do we miss sports. And Thursday night, we missed Todd McShay. A shout to him as we begin. Todd is recovering from the coronavirus. One of my favorite people here. Nobody invests more of himself to cover the NFL draft. But rest up, get well, my brother. Let us do the heavy lifting for just a little while. We begin, as we do nightly, with the best thing I saw today. And with this virtual draft, we got a chance to look into the homes of, well, look at the flex of Kingsbury. Steve, it looks like a high-end auto dealership where they just moved out all the $150,000 cars. And, oh, my God, Zimmer killed a dinosaur. Look at the size of it. I'm told that's a moose or a buffalo.
Hey, now.
Something. That's Jerry Jones on his yacht.
Yep.
You know, speaking of flexing, if you got $250 million, I'm on a boat. Bill Belichick just lounging on Nantucket. Hope we get there this summertime, but Bill's big on the island, and just hunkering down. Kind of fun to get a peek into the lives of those doing the selecting. And this, well, it was not exactly a secret, but obviously a remarkable moment for a kid from Athens, Ohio, the #1 pick, Joe Burrow, to Cincinnati. More on the ascent after transferring from Ohio State, where he didn't get the starting job, to LSU for 2018. Things didn't get off to a rousing start. Burrow 7th in the SEC in passing yards. Mel Kiper had him projected as a 6th-round pick. Fast forward to 2019. Burrow puts together one of the great college seasons in the history of the sport, arguably the greatest. He sets an FBS record for passing touchdowns, leads LSU to an undefeated season, wins the Heisman Trophy by a record-breaking margin in SpongeBob socks that night. And after being picked by the Bengals Thursday, Burrow becomes the 3rd consecutive Heisman winner to go first overall, joining another transfer. Actually, 2 of them, Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray. First time ever the 3 consecutive drafts have begun with a Heisman winner. Thursday's selection also puts a bow on just about the greatest 4-month run a college player could dream of. Burrow was one of 4 players all time to win the Heisman, win the national title, and be selected first in the NFL draft within a single academic year. Cam Newton also turned that trick at Auburn. But before him, you got to go back to the Fighting Irish of the 40s to find our friends Angelo Bertelli and your man Leon Hart. Well, as it turns out, Tua ends up in Miami after all, although not the path many would have projected. He'll play for Brian Flores. They played much better at the end of the year, the Dolphins did, than anybody could have imagined. It was thought that the Dolphins would have to be the worst team in the NFL to have a chance to get the Alabama quarterback, but obviously he got injured this year. And prior to the season, an SEC quarterback was thought to be the prize of the draft. Tank for Tua was the perceived approach of the Miami Dolphins. As it turns out, they didn't get him with the top pick, but they get him anyway at 5. Now, injury concerns are certainly a fair thing to point out. Maybe it's just me, but when he's described as injury-prone, it implies that it's some sort of character or genetic flaw. It's not like he missed a ton of games with nickel-dime things, and it's not like he missed a ton of games, period. He's gotten a clean bill of health, and if he is what everyone thought he was, then the Dolphins just won big at 5. A pick later, it's Justin Herbert. And Herbert was an interesting sort of a polarizing character, I guess you could say. Not character, quarterback. 4th duck to go top 10. The others didn't have massive success in the league, but each guy's his own guy. And he grew up joining a franchise that he grew up watching.
I was always a big Charger fan, and especially Philip, and being able to watch him, and it was really great. And he's an incredible quarterback who's going to go down as arguably one of the greats. And it'd be a disservice for me to compare myself to him. And I'm just excited for the opportunity and can't wait to get down there.
For the first time since 2005, the Chargers are going to have a starting quarterback not named Phillip Rivers. In fact, if you take it back to 2001, the Bolts have had only 3 different quarterbacks start games with Drew Brees and Doug Flutie. It's easily the fewest of any team in that span, and though Herbert will make that number 4 at some point, right? I mean, we're not presumed he could start. I mean, Taylor could be the guy. Second place Patriots also in need of a new starter. Jesse Palmer is with me. We're about 6 feet, right?
Easily.
All right.
Yeah, we got that.
Right. Well, I mean, we're trying to stay safe. It's good to see you. I hope you're healthy and well.
Thank you.
3 guys go top 6.
Yep.
And we've covered the pros and cons. We know about their talents. What I'm curious about, as it relates to success, is so often the situation they find themselves in. So as you assess the situations these 3 in the top 6 find themselves, how would you kind of break those down?
I would say that Justin Herbert from Oregon's probably in the best situation that he's walking into because of his surrounding talent at wide receiver with the Los Angeles Chargers and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, Austin Eckler at running back. I think he probably has the best opportunity to have success early right away. As much as I love Joe Burrow, and I've said this, he's the most accurate quarterback I've ever seen in college football. You have to remember, the Cincinnati Bengals earned the first pick of the draft with only 2 wins a year ago. It's not like quarterback was the only thing they needed. They've got a lot of other holes, and I think certainly Joe Burrow is going to have his hurdles, his ups and downs. I think the same thing could be said for the Miami Dolphins. They had a plethora of needs on both sides of the football, but they had to get their quarterback. They end up getting Tua, which I think was the right pick. But I certainly think these 3 guys that all went in the top 6, they all have an opportunity to have very long and very successful careers.
And if you look at Burrow, he goes from, as we just established, 2018 he was fine, but 2019 is the greatest season we've ever seen because he's surrounded with just a preposterous a bounty of talent. That's not the situation in Cincinnati. I wonder maybe if you're Tua and Miami is willing to say, let's go with Fitz and let him, like, you can watch. And maybe even the same situation with the Chargers. Waiting has been proven in many cases to be beneficial. I just don't know that they'll have that benefit of time. Do you think they ought to?
You know, to me, Joe Burrow is an alpha that needs to be on the field certainly
now,
right away,
gotcha.
right now, and we get that. And I think we saw this past season. We talked about the accuracy, the football IQ. He's a better athlete than people give him credit for, and he makes fantastic decisions. And he was consistent over the course of a 15-game schedule. It wasn't just the big ones against Florida, Alabama, Oklahoma, or Clemson. Whether it was Georgia Southern or Northwestern State, this guy played at an A+ level.
Gotcha.
But taking him number 1, you got to get him on the field now and just let him go. Because let's face it, Cincinnati right now is at ground zero. I agree with what you're saying about Tua in Miami, maybe because of the injury risk.
I should have been more clear about them.
You don't want to rush Tua back necessarily too fast if you don't feel you have to, but give Miami a lot of credit because I think there was 2 main questions that they had to answer heading into tonight. 1, did Tua's talent outweigh the injury risk? And 2, was there another quarterback, a Justin Herbert or a Jordan Love, that they thought might be equal or a little bit less equal to Tua Tagovailoa, and then with Tua's injuries concerns, maybe you would have gone a different direction. I think Miami taking Tua number 5 proved to me that it was Joe Burrow and Tua and then the rest. So Miami did the due diligence. They trust in their doctors. They believe Tua is going to be ready to play. If I'm Miami, let him go, put him on the field.
And we'll get to Love in just a moment, who went to the Packers on the back end, which had people going, that's sort of the situation Rodgers was in years ago. Great to see you, man. Stay well.
You as well. Be safe.
All right, thank you. All right, so here's a first look at the new guys in their new jerseys. Burrow, Tagovailoa, and Herbert. Marks just the 3rd time since '67, the common draft era, that we've seen 3 quarterbacks go in the first 6. In both '71 and '99, quarterbacks were taken with each of the first 3 picks. We welcome Joe Burrow back to the show. And Joe, I can't help but smile and think we've talked a couple of times throughout the year when it was like, hey, we got a big win against Texas, right? And then how things change. You get a big win against Bama. Then it's like you win the Heisman, you win the title, now you're the number 1 pick. At some point in this year, I imagine that the reality sets in that this is you and this is your life. What's this like to process the reality of your situation right now, man?
You know, it really hasn't hit me yet. I've been super focused on bettering myself as a player, and this is just the next step in doing that. So I'm super excited to get back to work. I think that's the mentality I have to keep if I want to keep improving.
It was no secret that this was happening, but when Cincinnati finally makes it official and you get a call or you speak to the president, like what happened when you knew officially from them to you, all right, this is happening?
First thought that went through my mind was I'm ready to get to work. I think that's the way that we're going to win a lot of football games. I'm going to get to practice and get to doing what I do best, and that's preparing the best way that I can.
When you spoke to Susie Colbert, you talked about that because you made a massive leap. You know, like in 18, you were thought to be a prospect. McShay said, what, maybe 4th round or something. Well, now you're the first pick, and the work that led to that. From that to becoming a contributing quarterback in the NFL is going to require a lot of work. Is there anything, Joe, specifically you feel like you're going to have to tighten up between now and whenever we get back to football?
You know, it's just everything. Everything at the next level happens a step faster. So I'm working on my footwork, my release, my arm strength, my speed, all of the above. You know, everything just has to be a step faster and a twitch better.
Because this isn't out in Vegas and because it isn't this gigantic spectacle, you know, we see you and your folks, you're just in your house, you know, like a regular night hanging out with your folks, except your life's changed. Like, it's surreal for all of us. So, like, how do you go about celebrating, you know, the greatest night of your life?
It feels super weird. We've just, you know, I've been doing all these interviews. I've been checking in to see which one of my guys are getting drafted.
Wow. All right. Well, I know you got a plate of some wings in front of you that you were kind enough to stop eating so that we could talk for a few moments. Enjoy the rest of the night, and we look forward to seeing you get out there and getting to work. Stay safe and all the best. Thanks for your time.
Yes, sir. You too. I appreciate it.
Bengals haven't had a playoff win since the 1990 season, the second longest drought of its kind for a team in possession of the #1 pick. Only team with a longer drought was the 1970 Steelers, another AFC North franchise who hoped to change their fortunes with a quarterback from a Louisiana school. You see where we're going here. All Terry Bradshaw did was win 4 Super Bowls in Pittsburgh, so Burrow's got a path to follow, and, well, it would lead where he would hope to go. More quarterback news towards the back end of the draft. Green Bay Packers trade up to get a quarterback. It's Utah State's Jordan Love, who had plenty of momentum and buzz post-combine. Selected by Green Bay. Now, Aaron Rodgers, of course, once went, 24, and he was the future. Well, now Love talks about the guy that he will be backing up.
So what do you think you can learn from Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, I'm already knowing I can learn a lot from Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's one of the GOATs right there in the game, and you know, I'm excited to be able to come back behind him and just learn as much as I can.
We welcome in insider Dan Graziano, who's covering the Packers during the draft. And over the course of this past week, the Packers have talked about the idea that if the quarterback's there, you got to get him. But still, when you draft the person that's, you know, the successor to Rodgers, I think maybe some eyebrows are raised. What's your reaction, and what are you hearing?
Surprised that they would trade up, right? And not that they would take Jordan Love. After we heard Packers GM Brian Gutekunst talk about his philosophy on drafting quarterbacks earlier this week, it sure sounded like if they had a guy they liked, they wouldn't pass him up, even in the first round. Gutekunst said, if you have a guy you like, you have to take him no matter where your franchise is. It's just too hard in this league to win without one. So not surprised they took one, but trying to figure out why they had to jump up so many spots to make sure they got him. I don't think there's a team that was between where they were picking and where they moved up to that was a real threat to take a quarterback. But I am looking at the early part of the second round. I see the Colts and the Patriots there as teams that would have had the ammunition to move back into the back end of the first round and take a quarterback. And maybe it was one of those teams that the Packers was trying to hold off. So interesting move. Obviously, it'll bring a lot of speculation. Gutekunst said, you know, if anybody understands something like this, it would be Rodgers. That's how he got to Green Bay in the first place, obviously, when they already had Brett Favre. So it's an eye-opener. And again, the surprise to me was that they actually made the move up to go get him.
But if any team would understand that a move might turn up the fire underneath the behind of the guy that who they trade up, you know, the position for, they know that Rodgers, like, I think he looks for slights, you know what I mean? And I think it's fuel for the fire, which, I mean, look, they were in the NFC title game a year ago, but, like, I just feel like Rodgers will take this like, oh, really? You know what I mean?
Well, look at it this way. If you're Aaron Rodgers, this is the first time the Packers have drafted an offensive skill position player in the first round since Aaron Rodgers. They've never drafted him a wide receiver. They've never drafted him a tight end. They've never drafted him a running back in the first round. And now he's looking. Mike McCarthy goes to Dallas. His first year in Dallas, they draft a wide receiver in the first round. So if you're Aaron Rodgers, you're sitting there thinking, come on, not only you're not getting me help, but now you're replacing me? It'll be interesting to see how it goes. Rodgers had some some comments earlier this offseason where he talked about it and said, whoever it is isn't going to beat me out anytime soon. And he's right. Jordan Love is a young player who needs to develop. So this is looking years down the road, and Rodgers being 36 years old, obviously the Packers are wise to be doing that.
Well, in a loaded year for wide receivers, maybe the Packers believe we can get somebody of value coming up in this next round. But again, moving up to get these successors, interesting. Dan, appreciate your time. All right, you take a look at drafting a first-round quarterback when you have a Super Bowl winner on the roster. Well, happened in 2018. Lamar Jackson, who, by the way, will join the show in a bit. That worked out pretty well for Baltimore. Giants get Daniel Jones a year ago. Of course, the reaction to that was, got plenty of play here. He became a starter. And Rodgers, as you see down there at the bottom of the screen, he has now been on both sides of the ledger. When we continue, The Ohio State University saw Buckeyes go 2-3. Young, then Okuda, Ryan Day, their head coach, about the journey they took to the top of the draft board. And C.D. Lamb, a Texas guy, went to Oklahoma. He's heading back to the Lone Star State with a star on his helmet to play for that man. Yeah, I'm just on my yacht. It's draft night, first round here at SportsCenter.
Big special shout out to all the essential workers out there.
I want to say thank you to my sister Joy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Can't you trust me?
No.
Good.
Clock's running, Tyler.
Get your hood light.
Extraction. Rated R.
When we first opened our doors, it didn't take us long to realize
we weren't in the car business.
At Lexus, we were in the people business.
We needed to be helpful,
respectful,
and compassionate.
To treat people like guests.
It's what we all signed up for.
And now when people need this most, we will do what we've always done.
Take care of people first.
The rest will follow.
Allergies with nasal congestion make it feel impossible to breathe? Get relief behind the counter with Claritin D. Claritin D improves nasal airflow 2 times more than the leading allergy spray at hour 1. Claritin D. Get more airflow.
Where we're from, friends are family. So we're getting you the Louisiana favorites you love safer and quicker. With the delivery fee on us. It's just one way our family is caring for yours.
From the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power, introducing the new Ego Power Plus blower, the handheld blower with unmatched power. It generates 650 cubic feet of air per minute, delivering performance that exceeds the power of gas. Featuring Ego's patented 56-volt arc lithium battery technology, it runs for over 90 minutes on a single charge. The all-new Ego Power Plus blower, exclusively at the Home Depot and Ego-authorized dealers.
Does learning a language feel like this?
No habla español?
Hablo.
It's hablo? It's hablo.
Bom dia, like good day, good morning, I think.
I can say, je m'appelle David, but that's probably it.
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
This year is my year to get fluent in Spanish, and Babbel is definitely going to help me do that. The app is so easy to use and it's so practical. It helps you learn things that you will actually need.
Since my husband is from Guatemala, I'll apply what I've learned in the Babbel app to our real-life situations.
I've tried other language learning apps and nothing really stuck. Babbel's been a complete game changer for me.
Hoy es miércoles y el clima está muy bueno afuera.
Estoy con fome. Eu no tomé café de mañana.
Je suis des États-Unis et du Vion.
Language for life.